Loose puck here for Pajol. Scores. Come on. Scores right off the draw. It is 2. And then had the puck come back to him again. Look at the move in on goal. And what a goal. You wouldn't expect it tonight, but what a night.
Lead pass up the middle. Brodzinski, cross ice, Trocheck, score!
That's how the game is played when it's...
Score! Gavrikov from the left point with traffic in front. Out to Fox. Shot deflected on the way in. Centering pass, score! Adam Ekstrom makes it 3-1 Rangers.
Am I any better than that? Yes, but not by enough.
Well, it's debatable whether or not the Rangers are really much better than St. Louis Blues right now. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Big Apple Hockey, a special Thanksgiving episode. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody that's out there. And just a lot that we're going to be covering today. And we're a little bit early, but you know what? That's just more hockey talk. Of course, guys, I'm your host, Mark Williams. Again with the host of the Final Buzzer, Mr. John Filkowski.
Yeah, the more of the same old from here we are.
Yep. And the last part of the Triforce, the man from the hockey news, Mr. Anthony LaRocco.
Yeah, day before Thanksgiving here, and you know the Islanders are in a position that most fans or pundits didn't expect them to be. But yeah, happy Thanksgiving to everybody tomorrow. Hopefully you guys all enjoy your day, your families. But let's talk some hockey.
And we're going to have Jim Behringer joining us in a minute, the fourth part of our crew, as well as, by the way, Anthony, what jersey are you wearing today?
It's a Maxim Shabanov KHL jersey from when he played for Tractor. I got a couple of years ago, actually, Mark, when we met Sorokin, the CSKA Moscow jersey I had, got it from the same place. He signed that one. So I ordered this jersey from that same website. If anybody's interested, it's called Lutch, Lutch USA. And they make just KHL jerseys, and the quality is very good. So I figured I was excited about Shabanov when they signed him, and I ordered it back in July, and it finally came a couple of weeks ago. So
yeah, no, that's a pretty sweet one. Unfortunately, you mentioned in one of the guys that we met, which was Alexander Romanov, who's out for the next 5 to 6 months. We're going to be talking about that more in our Bar Talk segment, as well as our A block. And let's get to our A block and start talking about a very tough road for the local hockey teams. And of course, the A block is brought to you by SeatGeek. Use the promo code Big Apple Hockey, $20 off your first order. And and the Big Apple Hockey trucker hats and shirts are available. Thought I hit the ticker right there, but missed that. So let's go. Starting in Manhattan.
I like Evan's comment and jest here about Grafsoft Tractor jersey.
I had one of those. Yeah. I had one, but I didn't buy it.
Yeah.
What'd you do? Rent it?
No, I actually won a little giveaway thing that Steven was doing.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
And
it was like one of those retweet giveaways. I ended up being the winner that was selected from the randomizer.
All right. Well, by the way, we're going to be doing a giveaway soon for a Matthew Barzell bobblehead. So getting on that one. But anyway, the New York Rangers beat the St. Louis Blues Monday night after they concluded a road trip where they went to Vegas, Colorado, and Utah, went 0-3. And then their next 7 games now, they go to Carolina tonight, to Boston for the Thanksgiving showcase. They host Tampa Bay, host Dallas, go to Ottawa before hosting Colorado and Vegas. So the Rangers, you see their records right there. Filk, will this next 7-game stretch sink the New York Rangers?
It's very possible. I look at this team and I say to myself, what is the answer? Where is the hero? Where is whoever or whatever is going to step up? Because I honestly, I don't see it. And yeah, you look at this stretch here, you Carolina, Boston, Tampa. I mean, they're in Carolina and Boston. You come home for Tampa and Dallas Dallas looks like a wagon right now themselves. If not for Colorado, they might be the biggest wagon in the NHL. Mm-hmm. And then you have Ottawa, who's looking to prove themselves, and they haven't exactly fared well recently against Ottawa. Colorado again, I don't want to play them, especially at home. And you got Vegas, and then you got a young Chicago team with a hungry Connor Bedard, who is looking to put himself on this Olympic roster in a few months. So, yeah, I think this is kind of sink or swim here. They come out of this. If they come out of this schedule, this stretch here, with, let's just say, you want to say the next 7 games, if they go 1-6, I mean, they could be looking at really kind of the season being over almost. Like, not technically, just because of the fact that I think the East will still be somewhat wide open, because I just think there's so many bad and weak teams in this Eastern Conference, to the point where even Johnny Lazarus was saying it. Like, the Rangers could still possibly be a playoff team because of the fact that no one is really separating themselves. Like, and I think I was watching NHL Network, I think it was yesterday, and I forget which clip I was watching on YouTube, but pretty sure it was NHL Network, and they were talking about, like, nobody really stepping up and grabbing the brass ring and kind of running away with the lead here. And people were expecting Carolina to be that team, and they haven't really even done that yet. Like, they haven't separated themselves from a New Jersey Devils team that's dealing with a bunch of injuries, bunch of players out, including Jack Hughes, Brett Pesce, Dougie Hamilton's missed time. But where is that one team that stepped up? Is Florida going to be that team when they get their guys back from injury? We really don't know as of right now. Excuse me, but I will say this. The Rangers, they really need to make a statement within these next 7 games. And you could say that this could decide things. It'll go one way or another. You're either going to look at a team that's going to be down and out, or you're going to look at a team that will do just enough to keep you. And it's like that song that Kim Wilde covered.
Keep Me Hanging On?
Yeah, You Keep Me Hanging On. Yeah. It's literally, I feel like that's the song for this season, because they do just enough to keep a portion of this fan base invested in, like, oh, they might be back. They might be here. Expected goals. Yada, yada, yada. Exactly. Get out my life. Why don't you, babe? You just keep me hanging on. It's literally, that is the song for this team. So we'll see what happens, but I'm not exactly sure that it's going to go any good with this schedule right here.
I'll give you my song in a minute, but first, Anthony, what are your thoughts on the Rangers right now?
I mean, they lost, but they lost 3 in a row, and then they came home and they played a Blues team that isn't good, and they beat them. Which, I don't know, despite the Rangers' struggles at MSG going into that game, I was honestly, I don't know about you guys, but I was honestly like 90% sure the Rangers are going to win that game. Just the Blues aren't very good, and the Rangers did what they had to do at home, and they got 2 points. But as you just saw with the 7-game stretch here, is that those are tough teams, and out of those 7 games, Ottawa is the easiest game, but even Ottawa is not terrible. It's not like they're playing the Predators here. They're still playing a team that's not bad. So, and
they might have Brady Tkachuk back by then.
Yeah, so it's a tough 7-game stretch, and as Phil said, the East is still jammed right now. That said, I mean, 1-6, I think at that point you might start to look at the Rangers and be like, all right, well, after that stretch, it's going to be really hard to dig out of that hole. So I think this goes without saying, but obviously 0-7, and then 1-6, and even 2-5, I think would put the Rangers in a really, really tough spot. 3-4, 4-3, that's kind of just kind of stuck in the middle. And obviously, then if they can go 7-0, 6-1, 5-2, then yeah, I mean that's certainly saving their season and even putting them in running for a top 3 spot in the Metro. But I based on their sample size so far and the quality of some of these teams, I would be highly surprised if that happened. But I just think regardless of what happens with the Rangers, and we've talked about this the last couple of weeks, is they're at this point where they're not bad enough to get a top 3 pick and get a player that can change the course of the franchise. And they're not good enough to contend. So they're stuck here in this middle ground. And I think that's the big gripe with Ranger fans right now, is that the direction where they're going, they're just kind of stuck in the mud. So, I don't know what's going to change, in the short term. Drury's not going anywhere. I think we can all agree on that. There's really no player out there that they could trade for right now that's really going to, change things drastically. So I want to watch Stamkos, old ROR. None of those guys. Jason Robertson isn't moving, obviously, right now. Dallas is playing, so I don't see the fix here for the Rangers. So I think they just have to ride this out and see what happens. And I've been beating this drum for a while now. I think the best thing that can happen to them is totally tank this 7-game stretch, do really poorly, and make Drury and Dolan look in the mirror and realize, okay, this team officially is not good and we're not going anywhere. And maybe then they can start to finally realize, all right, we need to change things up. Convince Panarin a full press court pitch to waive his no movement clause. And this is another topic too. I've seen comments on Twitter from many people. It's not the AAV that Drury gave Parson is the issue. It's the fact that he was hot on his tail for a while, acquired him, went out of his way to sign him to an extension, 2 years, might I add, before the summer really kicked off, and now you're already shipping him out the door. It's just, it just goes to and paints the incompetence of Chris Drury there. But so to circle back here, honestly, I think the best thing for the Rangers is here to really botch this 7-game stretch and maybe put him in contention to get a Gavin McKenna or Ivan Stenberg, but we'll see what happens. Either way, yeah, I do think this 7-game stretch is going to be season defining.
Yeah, but again, let's go with the first part of this. Yes, this will define their season. This will be what probably officially terminates the New York Rangers from the playoffs. And the fact that you were talking about songs before, like Tim Wilde and Keep Me Hanging On, Phil. How about this one? The Foo Fighters, The Pretender, or The Great Pretender. I forgot who sang that one. Who sang the one from the 50s. Because the Rangers are pretending. You're pretending you're even a playoff team. Never mind that they're a contender. No, they're not even any of those. Stop fooling yourself. You lost all your money. Stop going to the ATM at the casino. Stop betting. Go have drinks with your friends. It's all you're good for now.
The Rounders line.
And once that happens, once the Rangers shift from contender to rebuilding or retooling, either one you do, you have to move on from Chris Drury. I've been beating this drum. Can't trust him to make decisions.
Yeah.
That simple. And now going from there to where they are right now in the season. Well, right now in the season, there's 2 teams that are below them in the standings and in the Eastern Conference, and that's the Buffalo Sabres and the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Toronto Maple Leafs, I don't know what's going on with them. We're going to figure it out. But the Buffalo Sabres, when you're being mentioned with the Buffalo Sabres, no.
And they have 2 more points than Buffalo only because they've played 2 more games.
That's
like
the other
Toronto.
point too.
Toronto's going to get out of that. Whether Toronto is not going to be themselves or whatnot, which I don't think they are going to be themselves, but they're going to be better than the Rangers. The Capitals, they were below the Rangers at one point. Now they're fighting for a playoff spot. So, yeah, sorry, Mark.
No, but I mean, those are all fair points. There's stuff that you have to bring up because you've got to be real about this. This team isn't built to win. This team isn't built with a real identity. And they've been putting Band-Aids on bullet wounds for the longest time. It's now time to just go, all right, look, you made a mistake. You made a mistake because you're trying to be the best team you can because you think you can turn it around this season. You're not. You're not. It's over. The window's closed. And that's the best way that I could put it. The window's closed. Figure it out. What's the next step? Because, again, I'm going to keep pointing back to this, but the Islanders did that. Islanders did that, and now they're focused on a brighter future. And even looking at their present is pretty good. The New York Rangers need to start thinking about it because if they're still thinking they're the same team that they were for the last few years, they're closer to the team last year than they were 2 years ago. And to go from President's Trophy to a team that barely could win in the month of December that sunk their season last year, this will sink their season this year. And it's that simple.
Honestly, this team reminds me of the conversation that Pino and Mookie have in Do the Right Thing, where Pino says he reads and Mookie goes, "You read?" Like that. That's what I feel about Chris Drury. I don't understand how you can have your eye on a player like Juuso Parssinen for years, and like this is a guy that you had nobody in your entire organization take a look at and say, "Hey, this guy's really not that good." Like, I mean, the scouting and developmental staffs in this organization have needed to be fired for a long time. I have been beating this drum, whether it's Jed Ortmeyer and Tanner Glass or Mark Stahl or whoever the skills coaches are. I know Mark Chaccio was there previously, but like these guys all need to go. They all need to go. And it's not because they were plugs at the NHL level. It's because of the fact that they are just not good at their jobs.
The other part of it is once you acknowledge the problem, and the problem is the front office and everything that's involved in it.
Can you hear me?
But yes.
Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you. Oh, wait, no. You're frozen.
You're frozen a little bit.
Yeah, something happened with my computer. I don't know. It went like dark on me, and then
try turning off the camera and turning it back on.
Yeah.
There you're still frozen.
This is weird. Yeah, I'm gonna have to restart. I'll be right back. Sorry.
Okay, so we're gonna lose Phil for a moment, but we will move on and go over to the New York Islanders right now. And Anthony, you look at the Islanders. They go 2-1 last week. We're not going to make too much about the St. Louis game for them because that was after a long road trip where they went 6-1, arguably the best road trip any team had in the league this year. Well, not arguably, record-wise, yeah. And then they had a 5-0 win over Detroit last week. They won in a shootout for Seattle. You look at the Metro standings right now, the Islanders are sitting in third. The Washington Capitals are hot on the trail. But, Anthony, their next 10 games, 8 of their next 10 are at home. In that span, they're going to face opponents with a .629 winning percentage. Now, do the Islanders have to prove they're legitimate, or you think they already did that?
I mean, I think the 6-1 road trip against some really good teams. And the game they lost on that trip, by the way, Mark, was Colorado. And Wass said that was probably the best game they played all road trip, and it was the game they lost. So that speaks volumes. But yeah, I think just because who they are, people are still gonna doubt them. But I think at the very least, kind of just like a bare minimum, they proved that they're going to be a team that competes for a playoff spot. Now, can they keep this up and show that they're in contention for a division title? Because right now they are. They're two. You mentioned Washington's hot on the trail of them, 3 points behind. But Mark, you didn't say anything about them being 2 points behind Carolina, going the other way, going up. So they're right there for the Metro crown right now. Again, it's early. Will that continue? I don't know, but that's what they're going to have to prove, that they're this level of a team and not just a bubble team. So yeah, to answer your question, yes and no. But right now, as I've said a lot last couple of weeks, they're a fun team to watch. They're exciting to watch. They have a lot of skill, a lot of speed, which is the total opposite of the Lamoriello years, where they were a slower team, didn't play with much pace. And look what happened. Maxim Shabanov finally came back from his injury, and they put him with Cal Ritchie, who had been playing on the fourth line with guys like Cizikas and McLean, Siplikov, and wasn't producing much offense. You put a player that's equally as talented or even more talented with him on that fourth line, and now they're just combining for points. It seems like every other night. Shabanov had 4 points in that game. 1 point later got taken away, an assist, but he had 3 points. And then in the shootout victory over Seattle, I mean, he was playing with Barzell, and he was dancing out there. So him coming back to the lineup, combined with playing with Ritchie and got him going. Now they're even deeper. They are going to feel the loss of Pajot, who's week to week with an injury. His points had cooled off, but Pajot was still driving that third line. He's a matchup center, excellent penalty killer, fantastic in the faceoff circle. So losing him will hurt, but this is Cal Ritchie's opportunity now to move up and play in that 3C role with now Shabanov, because they moved him up too, along with Ritchie. And Simon Holmstrom's going to play on that line tonight too. So a line of Ritchie, Shabanov, and Holmstrom, that's a really good third line. Not many teams have 3 quality players like that in the third line. I mean, Holmstrom's a 40 to 50 point player. Obviously Ritchie's considered one of the top prospects, and Shabanov's insanely skilled. So to have that as your third line, that just shows the depth of the Islanders, even with Pajot out. So, right now they're within that grasp of the division, and if they keep winning here on this homestand, they're going to put themselves into a position where you look at them and you say, okay, they don't have to do much the rest of the way just to make the playoffs, because there is no separation yet, yes, but they are starting to put themselves into that conversation where maybe they're a little ahead of the Flyers, the Blue Jackets, the Penguins, those teams of the world. So right now, they're playing really well. If you look, their goaltending, Rittich and Sorokin are forming one of the best goaltending duos in the league. Last I looked, they were in the top 3, I think, in team goaltending according to Money Puck. So the goaltending's coming along. I mean, Sorokin's back to himself. Rittich is playing really well. That the 1-0 shootout game in Seattle, he was fantastic. They're getting scoring, and even their defense. Pellick, who I've been hard on a lot lately, he's been looking like himself. Not quite to what he was under Trotz, but Pellick's playing really great hockey. So right now, as an Islander fan, there's not much to complain about. You wish that Romanov wasn't hurt, and you wish Pajot wasn't hurt, but I think right now they're rolling. They have momentum. They're feeling good about themselves, and Boston has given them fits so far. I think they're 0-1-1 against them in the 2 games they played this season. So this will be a good game tonight, a good test. But I think right now, if you're an Islander fan, you're happy heading into Thanksgiving, where as years past, Thanksgiving, they're out of a playoff spot, and it looks like it's going to be another year where they have to scratch and claw to make the playoffs. And, this year might be headed in a different direction.
Yeah, I actually forgot to upload this stat and put it in there, but the Thanksgiving rule, as they've been calling it, that 77 teams that are in playoff position at Thanksgiving make the playoffs. Now, one reason, and it's Matt saying right here, imagine if a year 1 Darsh Islanders team wins the Metro and completely laps a year 5 Drury team. Yeah, I would love to see all those excuses come out, and you see the smile on Anthony's face right there. But I mean, it's already a huge step in the right direction. And Anthony, the Islanders are morphing. They're morphing from the Matthew Schaefer feel-good story to the team with house money to the team that, you know what, they might be up there with the big boys. I think they proved they're legitimate. I think this stretch, if they come out in this stretch, let's say 7-2-1, that says that the Islanders are with the big boys.
I agree.
And I still have my reservations about Patrick Law as a coach. However, you can't argue with this roster and what Matthew Darsh is doing. And he's going to keep an eye both on what's coming ahead and the years to come. Because he's already done it. He's already done all the smart moves. Cal Ritchie, he's also benefiting, I think, from the Pajot injury right now. Because Pajot is week to week.
Yes, he's week to week. Yep.
Yeah, Pajot's week to week. Even though they called him Pajot in that Detroit opening for those guys.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was like, what?
Yeah, I know. It's and I always got to use the Sportsnet breakdowns just in case. And sometimes you get away announcers that'll say the wrong name. But I don't think that the Islanders need to prove they're legitimate. This may prove that they're a contender. That's what's even scarier. And you attributed a lot of the success to Ilya Sorokin being back. And yeah, he's really kind of shown it over the last month. But this team can put the puck in the net, and they can. Now, the only question is, can they play more 1-0 games like what they had against Seattle and win all those? Now, Seattle's no big feat. They end up going up and beating, they're going to face Washington, who won the division last year, but they're starting to come on. We're going to talk about that more later. Tampa, who now just is coming on and took over the Atlantic Division lead. They're going to get them 3 times in the next 2 weeks, as well as Colorado, the Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers, and say what you will about Vegas, but also Anaheim too. So you got a lot of teams that the Islanders can really kind of just say, hey, league, hey, NHL, we're for real. Come on back on and come and get us. Instead of the Islanders, the ones that are chasing everyone else. So as Filk is coming on soon and coming back to us. But, Anthony, I look at this, and this is the chance for the Islanders, and it's a great chance. It's amazing how the perception of a team can change simply from like a 2-week span, because they go through that road trip, and it was a hectic road trip. I don't care what you say. You're talking about a 7-game road trip where you play in 7 different states. Granted, 2 of them are kind of close, but still, that's a hell of a road trip, Anthony. So all credit to the Islanders on that one.
And they, you know what, they fight and claw. They never give up. They go back to that Vegas game. Things looked bleak. Horvat took a double minor. He's out of the game. The Golden Knights are about to go on a power play in overtime, nonetheless. And you're thinking, oh well, this game's over. Pajot wins the faceoff, takes it up, scores a goal. Like it's just that they never give up. They don't relent. Even the game against St. Louis when they lost, which you referenced to, kind of throw them a bone there. Like you're coming back from a 6-1 road trip out west. They didn't have their legs. It is what it is. I'm not going to kill them for it. It happens. But even in that game, Lee scored late to make it a 1-goal game, and then they did tie the game, but it got called off because of goaltender interference. But when the time came down to it, they got to their game, and they almost found a way to get a point out of the game. Watt chose not to challenge for goaltender interference. He said based on other precedents, he felt that it wasn't going to be a goal, and then he also felt they were going on a power play anyway, because on that sequence, St. Louis took a double minor, so he's like, I'll just roll the dice and take chances with my power play. But they always work. They always try to find a way to get a point out of a game. So and that's big too. There's belief in the room, and pointing that belief in the room. I wonder if Matthew Darsh is going to reward the team, and what I mean by that is if let's say on this stretch here, they win more games than they lose, and they continue playing at this pace. You have to wonder if Darsh is going to go out and make a trade and try to replace Alexander Romanov, and again reward the team for how they're playing, because Romanov's out for 5 to 6 months. That's let's face it, that's probably the whole year. Do you want to rely and make Adam Boquist an everyday defenseman and have your seventh D be an inexperienced guy like Marshall Warren, although he's promising Isaiah George. So he may want to.
Anthony, don't say a name you might want to target, because we'll leave that as a teaser.
He may want to go out and reward the team and make an addition. Now with that said, the Islanders still are in the early process of this retool. So Darsh isn't going to trade any premium assets. Like, he's not going to trade, guys like Yzerman, Eklund, Aitchison, their first round pick. Colorado's first is maybe a different story, but he's not going to trade any of his prime assets for a quick fix. With that said, I don't see any reason why he could not, maybe move Colorado's first, or a lesser prospect like Quinn Finley, who's still pretty good, but not up there amongst their top prospects, and try to, bring in a guy to help them. So that's just something to keep an eye on too. If they keep winning, Darsh may reward them.
Yeah. And yeah, I think you covered all that. I thought I had another point I was going to make. The worst part is I'm going to remember that in about 2 minutes. Yeah. And we're going to be well past the next segment. But Anthony, let's move on to the Jersey Devils. We don't have Jim here to talk about him, but we'll talk about him in his stead. You look at the Devils last week. Yeah, they were able to pull out a win versus Detroit on Monday night, but they also lost to Florida 1-0, and they gave up 3 goals in a game against the Flyers in 26 seconds. Yikes! I mean, that is not good. You look at their last 6 games; they've allowed 20 goals against in those 6 games. That's 9th worst in the NHL, and they're tied with, of course, the New York Rangers. So, just want to mention that, guys. Anthony, you look at the Devils, and we text back and forth with Jim about it. He goes, "Oh, it's all about the goaltending, right?" Sarcastically. Yeah. A concern for the Devils defense here, or is it just looking at their 35, 36-year-old goaltenders?
No, their defense certainly is not playing up to their standards, leaving Markstrom out to dry a little bit. I do think Markstrom needs to be better, but I think it's honestly a mixed bag for me. Simon Nemec has been a surprise. He's been good. I still think he'd clean up things in the defensive zone, but overall, the group everyone needs to raise their game. I mean, Brandon Dillon, I know Dougie Hamilton was hurt for a while. Sometimes it takes a little bit to get going there, but I think they're playing too loosely in their own zone, and it's showing. The Devils overall, I mean, let's face it though, as Jack Hughes goes, the Devils go, and he's out. That's a big loss for them. Their depth, I would say, is not producing like they thought maybe it would, in terms of like the Connor Browns and the Evgeny Dodonovs. So as we said last week though, I still think the Devils are okay. They're second in the Metro right now, 1 point behind Carolina, 1 point up on the Islanders, so they're in a good spot. And the other thing is, like we said, who's coming other than maybe the Islanders passing them in for second or even first. What other team for the Metro is going to come up and knock them out of that, third spot? I mean, Washington, I know Washington's hot of late. They've been playing better. I'm not really a believer, though, in them being better than New Jersey. I absolutely don't think Pittsburgh is. And then from there, it goes without saying. Philly's not better than them. Columbus is not better than them. And, the Rangers on a perfect day, if everybody's going with the skill they have, maybe, but we talked about them and what's going on with the Rangers. So, yeah, I don't see any other team coming up and, kind of knocking the Devils out of one of those top 3 spots in the Metro. So I think that they're good. I mean, they shouldn't be complacent, obviously, but I don't see them in any danger of slipping out of any lower than 3rd in the Metro.
I could actually see a little bit of them slipping down to 4th in the Metro, but I'm not saying that as condemning them or anything like that, because you're going to have a setback with the Hughes injury, and you're also going to have they're going to have some problems because their defense. I'm still not sold on the defense and the goaltending. Then they're going to have to try to outscore their problems. I've never been a big believer in Sheldon Keefe for them either. But yeah, I know that too. I mean, it sounds unfair that we talk about 2 of the area coaches, and my first thoughts are I'm not a believer in them as the coach, but I'll give credit to the guy whose team is doing the worst right now. Also, because I actually believe he's doing a good job considering what's going on. But you look at the Devils, though. Like, it's hard. They're hard to put a finger on sometimes.
Yeah,
you lose the game 1-0 against Florida, but then you lose against Philadelphia. And again, I'm not slamming them by saying they might go down to 4. It's not necessarily their play. They're going to get 2 points when they play St. Louis right now because I'm off the St. Louis bandwagon. Yeah, because St. Louis. Wow. If that's all from the Bulldog for Mayu trade, and that's the reason why it all crumbled. Oh my goodness! Then Armstrong's got something to answer for if that's the case. There's something else going on wrong in St. Louis. I can't put a finger on it because that was the team that left the ice 6 months ago. Back to this. Back to the Devils. They still have time to figure out what their problems are. They still got Hughes is coming back eventually. A big believer in Nico Hischier and Jesper Bratt and a lot of their core. But then now you got to say all that, and they still have to be healthy down the stretch to begin with. Or health is a big question for them. I don't have that much of an analysis to go with on that, and I also don't want to sound like I'm like slamming them too hard either because they played well against Detroit the other night. Although you tell me the team that Detroit is every other day. They're right now. Detroit is sitting at number 2 in the division, 1 point out of first place, and they are -5 goal differential. How does that work?
Yeah.
And that's why when you say sometimes it's early, you have a case with that, Anthony. But not so much in this case. That's why it's like there is concern for the Devils defense. They're going to need to shore things up, but that could also happen really in their playoff position post trade deadline. So they don't have to rush. Because also, by the way, as you said, Anthony, Pittsburgh's not coming up to go get him.
Yeah,
he's not coming up to go get him. Columbus ain't coming up to go get him. And the New York Rangers, they're going to be at the bottom of the sea, like that whole bottom of the sea. Anyway, one more team we're going to talk about in their A block because, Anthony, we got to talk about them. Edmonton Oilers lose 8-3 to Dallas last night. They're 500 this season, and they're the epitome of a 500 team at best. I'm going to tell you something that's shocking to me, Anthony, because I heard it the other day. So the 10, 10, and 5. -18 goal differential. They had one regulation win in the month of November. Yee. Is it time to panic in Edmonton?
You know what? I'm actually going to say I'm going to say no, only because of who they have on their team. I mean, Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid are cheat codes. You know, they're so good that they can negate how bad their goaltending is. And yeah, you know, right now if the season ended today, they're out of the playoff spot. You know, I think they trail Utah for 2 points to the wild card, and then they trail LA 3 or 4 points for third in the Pacific. But
you're right on both those.
Yeah, I just think McDavid and Draisaitl are too good to have them miss the playoffs. Both those guys will turn it up. And they'll carry the team despite their goaltending. Now, the recipe for that, you know, can they win a Stanley Cup with their goaltending? I mean, they've come close. So as bad as Skinner and Picard are, that tandem, I don't want to say it's impossible, but eventually, though, what is going to happen? It's going to weigh on Draisaitl and McDavid, and it might run into a point where, as good as they are, they can't pull them out and rise out of the ashes. So, will they make the playoffs? Yes. Will they be able to get to the Stanley Cup final for the third year in a row despite this? I'm going to say no. But I will think they're going to make the playoffs. The other thing, too, is where is their help outside of them, too? I mean,
yep.
Zach Hyman was hurt for a while. I mean, Nugent Hopkins, okay. Matthew Savoy, okay. I mean, I don't I don't know. I think it's the same case with the Oilers year after year. Two generational players with, another guy, Nugent Hopkins, that's pretty good. But, after that, it's nothing to write home about. And, their defense is meh. So it's just, you know what? It's going to come to a point where, McDavid is going to say after these 2 years are up, I'm out. And I think the fact they only signed a 2-year deal, I think you don't have to read the tea leaves to believe he did that because he doesn't necessarily believe in the team long term. And unless they go out and get a goaltender, he out. He gone.
Anthony, I would not be surprised if he would say in the offseason, I gave you the 2 years, trade me, move me, because this team, I think he's got buyer's remorse. If he wants to say that he doesn't, there's that belief of you can always turn it on when you're that good, and that the Oilers have done that. Here's the problem I have with the Oilers now. Some of those punching bags aren't so – they're now starting to punch back, if you will. San Jose Sharks are tied with them in points, and they've played fewer games. And they got this Macklin Celebrini. I don't know if you heard of him. He's playing really well. And you could argue him for league MVP. So let's start with that one. The Anaheim Ducks, which were a punching bag for a long time. Nope, not anymore. They're leading the division. So what's next? I mean, sure, Vancouver is Vancouver. The Flames are still the Flames. But right now, Edmonton's sitting there and they're going, oh, don't worry, we can turn it on. When are you going to turn it on? It's starting to get late. And usually they'd be able to at least put something together right now. Anthony, you don't win in regulation in a month. That's a big indicator that there's a big problem. Because
you know what team you didn't mention there, which when we were talking about the Islanders with their 1-0 victory over them, you kind of say it's no big feat, but Seattle's second in the division. You have to give Seattle a little bit of a due there. So there's that team they're contending with as well. So at the end of the day, do I think they're still going to finish ahead of Seattle, ahead of San Jose, LA? Honestly, I kind of do, just because how good they are. But like I said, eventually it's going to weigh on them so much that they'll be able to bring them into the playoffs, but they won't be able to get them back to the finals.
To quote the base movie that I saw last night, the sequel of, or the whatever, to quote the Wizard of Oz, which I saw. I took my wife to go see Wicked last night, and it was very good, by the way. And Anthony is taking his daughter today. Actually, technically, my wife took me. And she was so enthusiastic to go, and it's great. It's great watching her watch the Wizard of Oz. It's one of her favorite movies. But it's pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, because it doesn't matter to me about Draisaitl and McDavid. Stop. I mean, you want to say not Heilman. Zach Hyman coming back is going to be good. Sorry, didn't mean to confuse Zach Hyman with Aaron Heilman for a second, for Met fans who are still facing that trauma. But no, they're going to need a wizard. They're going to need a wizard and a wicked witch. They're going to need everything, and maybe even some ruby slippers to try to get all this going in Edmonton, Anthony, because nothing's making any sense what's going on there.
No.
They've got some big issues, and it's not just Stuart Skinner. And I think all the focus is on Stuart Skinner, but Calvin Pickard isn't doing anything either. And their defense is giving prime chances up. So first you're giving up prime chances, goals are going in. And then when you need a save, the goalie's not making it.
Yeah.
Those are, and then you have to say, all right, we need to get a goal. There's no way you can ever just plan on a goal. It doesn't happen. Sorry. You got guys that can will it, that can try. Nate McKinnon is one of those guys. You see him do it, but no, it's just, and Connor McDavid certainly is one of those guys, but you can't just turn that switch on every single game. It's impossible. You're going to end up burning everybody out mentally. All right. By the way, Anthony, how you looking on time?
I'm okay.
Okay. Because I was hoping to actually debut this with everybody here. I was still gonna just talk a little bit, see how Filk is doing, see if he's gonna get here.
He hasn't said anything in a while, so
Yeah, he's updating his computer right now, and hopefully we're gonna get some of Jim. All right, you know what, Anthony? I guess we'll jump into bar talk. We'll talk about one of those team names or those guys that you were talking about. But we got a brand new bar talk intro. Everybody enjoy.
Let's kick it into high pace. Grab your mates, it's time to unlock NHL Bar Talk.
Layup, get the damn hoop.
We go shot here.
the easiest I've ever dancer.
I'm actually going to go crazy. I'm going to buy everybody around.
We're all in this game, let the good times shake.
Yeah, it looks a little bit Disney-fied at the end, but I still think it came out great. And yes, it is hoop time.
I thought you were gonna put that new remark of me into the intro.
Yeah, I'll try to get that in there. I can always just fix that because I don't know if anybody noticed, but Big Apple has 3 P's in it right there.
Yes.
And my wife just said how much she loves the new graphics on there. Filk is still waiting on some updates too, guys. So welcome back, everybody, to Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk. We're gauging our confidence on these NHL topics based on our choice of drink. So confident you buy it around, so I'll have a beer, or oh dear God, I need a shot. Put it all down in the comments below. And of course, since it is Bar Talk, usually it would be Wing Wednesday over at Boss Crookers in Walsall. Coming down for 40-cent wings, $2 hot tacos, $4 Miller Lights. However, no special tonight. Just want to let you know. I will be there for Thanksgiving Eve, and God have mercy on my soul. Anthony, let's go with that story we were talking about with the Islanders block that Alexander Romanov is out 5 to 6 months with a shoulder surgery. And just to remark further upon that, Anthony, Mikko Rantanen getting a 1-game suspension for the hit the following game, also a bit of a joke as well, because you can say what you will. There should have been at least a suspension in the first game around that. But let's focus on the New York Islanders, and the New York Islanders should make a move for Anaheim's Pavel Mintyukov, who sounds like he doesn't want to be there anymore.
Yeah, so it came out from a bunch of the insiders that he said if he's not going to play, that he would like to be traded. And the issue with him is, this guy is 10th overall pick a couple of years ago, had a fantastic rookie year, but now he finds himself as the third left-hand defense in Anaheim behind Jackson Lacombe and Olin Zellweger. So, I think he's not kind of happy about that playing time, sometimes not playing at all. So, yeah. But the thing is, everyone insider is saying is that Anaheim is not in a rush to move him. So, I think that they're going to have to get a really strong offer to move him. Certainly still thinks it's possible, but it doesn't sound like it's imminent or anything yet. But it is a guy that I think could be moved. Evan's saying shot because I don't want him to be an Islander. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to say round, honestly, but the fact that why I'm kind of not very optimistic that it will happen is for a couple different reasons. You still have Adam Pelech there next year and for 2 more years after. Then you have Matthew Schaefer. Then you have Romanov, who will be back, and then you have Keyshawn Aitchison, Mark, who is also a left-handed defenseman. So that's kind of a little bit of a logjam there. Mintyukov plays the left side, so if you add him now what do you? I mean, you're not moving Schaefer to the right side. At this point in his career, you're not moving Pelech, and I also don't think he's waving to go anywhere. You just signed Romanov to 8 years, so he's not going anywhere. And then if you add Aitchison in, could he play the right side? I don't know. So I guess long story short is, can Mintyukov play the right side? If he does, then it's an absolute no-brainer because then you shift him over to the right where the Islanders are weak organizationally on the right side of their depth in the organization. So yeah, if he can play the right side, I think it's an absolute no-brainer. But for that reason alone, just the strength of the left side and whatnot, I don't think Darsh is going to spend assets to get a guy where they're already strong. They may need him right now because Romanov's out, but going forward, I don't know how much of a pressing issue it is.
Yeah, and I think that's why I am going to go shot right now for that. Not because Mitnikov isn't a good player. Go ahead, go get him. He's young, and you can still build around him. But the Islanders kind of don't need to go that route just yet. I asked you about Isaiah George. Could he play the opposite side? I mean, I thought he looked pretty good at points last year.
He's also out with the concussion right now, which is why Marshall Warren got recalled over him.
And bring up Marshall, who is a student of Tommy Kolb. It's hopefully you could get him on the show. But it's one of those things. They don't need to overreact to it. And Marshall was pretty good in his brief stint earlier this year with the Islanders. Just stay the course. And knowing Patrick Waugh just means more minutes for Matthew Schaefer. And he's just going to play him more and use him. I mean, I don't know how you could play him more. He's averaging over 22 minutes a game. I mean, just leave him on the ice then. But that kid's got a lot of energy and a lot of enthusiasm, and it's rubbing off on the rest of the team. More Schaefer, that's a good thing for everyone involved. So it's not a pressing need. Let's reevaluate in about a month on this one. Hopefully a speedy recovery. Sorry.
I also think Adam Boquist is serviceable enough to be their 60 for a little bit. The issue is though, if you're in contention for a division, like top spot in the division, you have a guy like him who kind of is just a bottom pairing guy, and then your seventh guy is an inexperienced. So yeah, they might want, if they're really going to compete, they might want more veteran depth, just more veteran help. So may not be Minchikov, could be an old friend like Nick Leddy, who plays the left side, who's a free agent at the end of the year where there's no commitment, so you bring him in for the rest of the year and then he's gone. I think that's a possibility, but yeah, we'll see how it goes.
And let's focus on a team that's chasing them right now, the Washington Capitals. You see 4 of their last 5 games that they won. Their next couple games, you got a Winnipeg team that's minus Connor Hellebuck. More on that in a moment. They're going to face the Toronto Maple Leafs. We all know about their struggles. And then they face the New York Islanders at UBS Arena on Sunday. They're 2 points behind the Islanders right now for 3rd place in the Metro. Anthony, the Caps starting to turn it on. The Caps will finish 2025 in a division playoff spot.
You know what? Maybe it's a little surprising, but you also spelled Capitals wrong, by the way. Now I'm looking at it.
Oh.
I'm actually gonna go shot here. They're coming nowhere close to Carolina. I don't think they're better than New Jersey, and call it a homer pick or whatever. I also don't think they're better than the Islanders. I don't. So I just feel as though last year, this is actually kind of a fact. I think everyone realized that based on the year they had this last year, they were the biggest contender for a drop in quality of play, and you're seeing it right now. They're nowhere near as good as they were last year. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it bites me in the ass, but I'm gonna stick with shot here. And
all
welcome
right,
Filk.
And we got Filk back in now. So let me get the shot glass out there for you right there. Boom, there it is. And I'll answer this one and then let you go on this one, Filk. I am actually going to go round on this one because I do think that the Capitals are good enough defensively to get in to a playoff spot. You look at their goal differential. I'm a big believer in goal differential. I usually say that's an indicator on how good teams are playing, but they got a better goal differential than the New Jersey Devils and New York Islanders, both of them, and they're tied with the Carolina Hurricanes at plus 13. that to me, I think they're starting to come on. They're starting to play some better defense, and now they're starting to find the net a little bit more. That being said, I don't think they go past the Islanders. I think it could be they get past the Devils. I can see the Devils kind of dropping back a little bit, and then once they get healthy with Jack Hughes, they end up. I don't think the Devils will lose at a playoff spot right now, but that's a different story. I do think they're right there, and they could jump up and keep playing well. I mean, 5-4-1 in the last 10. Let's see whether or not they can keep those wins coming. Phil, are the Capitals going to finish the calendar year in a playoff spot?
So will they make the playoffs?
Well, no, 2025, this year. They're going to finish December in a division playoff spot. So it's top 3 in the Metro.
Beer. I don't know. I look at that team, and a lot of their players have come to the expected regression that I talked about for a while. It's the shooting percentages are down, and the production just hasn't really been there for the most part. Like Alex Ovechkin is really starting to look his age. I mean, he's got 21 points in 23 games with 10 goals. But, I mean, I look at him and I say to myself, like, he really looks like he's 40 now. Like and again, playing good for his age, but like, again, what are we doing here with this guy? Like, what are we doing here with this team? I don't know. I'm not seeing it. I think that there's just a lot.
And all right. Phil froze for a second. Oh, there you go.
This computer is just, I don't know. I'm sorry. It's just been terrible.
Technical difficulties, Phil. It happens to all of us.
But I mean, really looking at, so Tom Wilson's shooting at 23%. Like that's not gonna last. John Carlson's having a resurgent season at 36 years old. Jacob Chikrin has been on fire as of lately. He's going to cool off. Dylan Strome is about a point per game. Some of these guys that are still producing. Ryan Leonard's the guy that I really like think can be an X factor with this team. Like if his development continues to go the way that I think it's going to go this season, then maybe they can. But I still think there's regression to be had with some of these other players. I do think that Jacob Chikrin's going to cool off. I think John Carlson will probably cool off a bit. But again, maybe they do finish in I mean, if you're talking just a month from now, sure, maybe they could. So I'll say beer, but like, I don't know why that's the arbitrary timeline here.
Well, because I didn't want to set it too far ahead. Didn't want to say it at the end of the year because
I don't know. I feel like it's kind of just, I don't know. We're like cherry picking with that. Not just me. I sure they can, but I don't know. The Islanders' schedule doesn't get like so.
The Islanders are for a rough schedule the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, the next 2 weeks is kind of rough for them. I mean, the Devils over the next. I mean, they have St. Louis, Buffalo, Philadelphia, Columbus, which 4 games they could win. Then they've got Dallas, Vegas, and Boston, which are going to be 3 tougher games. Ottawa, Tampa, Anaheim, Vancouver, and Vegas again. I mean, their schedule isn't exactly murderer's row, but okay, yeah, sure, they have a decent bottom 6, but have you seen what they're doing offensively? I mean, Martin Ferravari is pretty much outscoring anybody in their bottom 6. Like, their bottom 6 is not, I mean, sure, they play well, but they're not really producing. Anthony Beauvillier has 6 points. Justin Sardif in the same amount of games has just as many points as Anthony Beauvillier. Hendrix Lapierre, who was their first-round pick, was actually a guy I wanted over Braden Schneider, funny enough, has 5 points in 22 games and no goals. Nick Dowd has 5 points. Sonny Milano has played 12 games, has 4 points. For all the talk about their bottom 6 being good, they're not really producing. They're running off of their top 6, again, producing at rates that are not really sustainable. And once guys like Chychrun and Carlson start to cool off, you're going to see that team regress quite a bit. So, again, I'm going to say it, Leonard is going to be the key piece. It's going to be the key piece. If he can continue to develop the way that he's developing right now, that team has a chance at making the playoffs, and a pretty good one at that. But with that said, I wouldn't sleep on the Devils because they're continuing to get points and wins despite the injuries that they are enduring right now.
Right.
So,
well, they had some good times, but they also letted 3 goals in 26 seconds.
I'm also still waiting for Carolina to take that next step and really kind of break out. Like, I think eventually they're going to separate themselves at some point. It's just how close can Jersey stay to them?
It's going to be a good question, and it's going to be unfolding soon enough. And yes, we're going to be getting to more of them in a little bit.
Yeah.
But let's go backwards and go to the New York Rangers, who plays Phil Borgen on IR. By the way, also Jonathan Quick went on IR as well. But the Rangers need to address their defense via trade right now, Mr. Filkowski.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to buy around on this. And I'm not just talking about a patchwork deal that will help save this season. I mean, there's names out there like Pavel Mitnikov that would actually help them now and going forward. There are other teams or other things that they could do to help out. Bowen Byram was available. This should have been addressed in the offseason. I do agree. But even if Carolina destroys them and they flunk that 7-game stretch we were talking about earlier before my computer decided to shit out on me, I will say that they do need to go get some left side depth. Whether it's Byram, whether it's Mintyukov, whether it's somebody else that we don't know about, they need puck movers. Scott Morrow was somebody that myself and many other Ranger fans are clamoring to see, and he came up and he showed exactly why he's not in the NHL right now. Because he just does not know how to play defense in his own end. I'm sorry, it's just there. There's a lot of assignments that were blown, a lot of plays where you say to yourself, you shouldn't be doing that in Bantam or Pee Wee. You know what? Hey, for all the crap that everybody wants to talk about Mario Ferraro, that's fine. I understand it. But he'd still be an upgrade over on anything that they have on the left side after Vladislav Nabokov. I hate to say it, but it's true. So, yeah, I mean, you can shit on Mario Ferraro all you want. Not a bad player. He's not the savior. I'm not saying he's a savior, but he could help. And they need puck movers. They don't have anybody that can move the puck out of their end with any type of consistency outside of Adam Fox. Scott Morrow couldn't do it because he can't play defense at this level. Who else is going to come in and save this team? Drew Fortescue, years away. And I don't think that he's going to be that guy that really moves the puck well out of his own zone. I think he'll be solid. But EJ Emery, again, years away, playing better this season for North Dakota, but not really the answer. Where are the puck movers? And I'm not saying draft the next Bobby Sanguinetti, because that's going to fix everything, right? But they need somebody to come in and help move this puck. There is nobody, and I mean nobody in this organization, whether it's at the major league level or whether it's a prospect, that really really can do anything to help this team out in that regard. So Chris Drury, I mean, if he's here for the long term, which it seems like he's going to be, has to address this in some sort of way or another.
Anthony, should the Rangers make a move to bolster their defense via trade now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go round, and I think the move to waive Parsonen was to add some sort of defenseman. I mean, they might just recall someone from Hartford, but I do think that they need to bring up to add another defenseman to the roster, preferably from the outside, because like Phil said, there's really no one inside the organization right now that's really going to help them or move the needle too much. Talking about Mario Ferraro on the Sharks, I mentioned this in our group chat, but another Sharks defenseman that could be available is Nick Leddy. I mean, the Sharks have nine NHL defensemen on their roster, so they can afford to move one of their defensemen for maybe another kind of pick or a forward, but I think Nick Leddy would suit the Rangers. I mean, Phil said they don't have anybody to move the puck up with consistency. I mean, Nick Leddy's not the player that he was when he was like a 40-point guy in the Islanders, but he still, for his age, he still skates really well. He's a smooth skater, and he can skate the puck up out of transition. So, he has a $4 million cap hit, though, so Sharks would have to retain, and, Rangers may have to send something else a little bit there to make it fit, but he could be an option. But nonetheless, yes, they need to add somebody. Because I think right now they only have 6 healthy defensemen on their roster. So, yeah, I would say this is around for sure.
No, it's a beer. The reason why it's not around and not anything else, yeah, they need to bolster the defense, but I mean, what really are teams going to be trading at the moment? You might see teams waive more guys than trade right now, but on the other hand, no, Chris Drury doesn't. I've lost my faith in Chris Drury. We keep talking about Big City Kevin Adams. We have all these different nicknames. Just no, Chris Drury. I don't buy into any move that he's going to make. And the other part of it that I'll throw out there for Chris Drury is he'll pull out what he did before, which he did. We're talking about this with Juuso Parsonen, but he did this with Urho Vakanainen too. He trades for them and then extends them. What is it, for team control? You're thinking, well, because you got flexibility. Is that the reason why? Like, yeah, Pizzeria Adams. Yeah, there's
Colony Grill Adams.
Yeah, well, throw out your nicknames based off of Kevin Adams.
Evan has an even better one than that one. He called Lafreniere French Yakupov the other day.
Oh boy.
Oh,
that's
man.
a good one. That's a good one, Evan.
I literally was in tears when he fucking said that. I was just like, oh my God.
But this team isn't exactly making the right decisions. And it says something that they can't call up a defenseman right now to help out with this. And you're playing Matthew Robertson, not because I'm not even sure if they're doing it because they like the way he's played, which, to be honest with you, I haven't hated the way he's played, but it's that they kind of have to. Like, what's going on in this organization? And it's just another reason why they need to make changes, big sweeping changes. So it's, again, I wouldn't trust any of the talent evaluators. I don't think that a trade is going to save them right now. Figure it out, boys. That's what you're going to have to do. And you know who else has to figure it out? Sorry to say it. You took the money. Mike Sullivan. You're going to have to figure this out as well. All right. So now let's move on. We talked about the Capitals. Let's talk about a record that has been held for 20 years, guys. But right now, almost 20 years. But right now, Patrick Kane trails Mike Modano by 20 points for the all-time record of American-born scorers. Modano held the record for 18 years. Anthony, Patrick Kane will hold the American points record once he gets it for longer than Mike Modano.
I mean, what's the next active player behind Kane, and how many points is he behind?
I was actually hoping to get that graphic up, but I ran out of time.
That's what I need to base the answer on. I mean, it's
okay. Well, go with your gut for right now.
I'll pull that up in a second. That
got a Quan
Quant is
hockey
pretty
right
good
here.
with that. The only thing with Quant is they list Brett Hull at the top, but Brett Hull is not American born. So
Yeah, your next highest American scorer. I mean, basically, it's Austin
probably
Matthews.
I mean, active is
Active is
John Carlson.
Austin Matthews and JT Miller trail him.
It's Carlson at 746, but he's not going to come anywhere close. He's 36 years old, or he's going to be 36 years old. And it's really Matthews. Matthews is the one guy that could really challenge that. He's at 741, and Kane is at 1355. I don't think Kane is – I think Kane maybe will hit 500 goals and 1,400 points. I do think Matthews can score another 700 points because he's only 28 now. Yeah, so he's still got like a lot of time, but he's got a rebound.
And one reason why the question exists is because he held the record for 18 years. Before that, Phil Housley held the record for 7.5 years. And then Joey Mullen had it for like another 10 years. So it's just basically is automatic. I guess it's Austin Matthews is going to be the all-time American scorer.
I mean, so he needs 700 points in less than 18 years. I mean, beer, I guess. I don't know. It's a silly question.
Yeah, this is where pre-production would have helped out a little bit more. But we got to rephrase this one a little bit better. Phil, what do you think? Is there going to be another American to eclipse Patrick Kane in the next 2 decades?
Matthews. I'm going to say beer just because it depends on injuries with Matthews. And Matthews has had he's had some injuries with his wrist and his shooting has kind of looked a little off because of it. But he's rebounded from those injuries in the past. Like this year, he's missed some time. He's played 17 games. He has 9 goals. So he's at about like a 45 to 50 goal pace. I mean, he could easily get hot and score 55, 60 again if he could stay healthy. But this Toronto team is now going to be different because he doesn't have Mitch Marner passing him the puck anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's big. I mean, who knew that getting rid of a 100-point two-way winger would actually hurt your franchise? What a fucking novel concept, right? But yeah, I think that there's a player that could do it. It's Matthews. I could see him scoring, 800 points in like 8 or 9 years, maybe. Modano's had this record for a while. So I do think that it's a beer just because Matthews could get hot or hey, maybe Matthew Nice turns into a point per game power forward and the loss of Marner really isn't all that, felt all that much. Maybe Easton Cowan comes up and he turns into this great top 6 option for them that helps them, right now it's looking bleak because that's what happens in year 1 when you lose a player like Marner. But maybe some of their options are a couple of years away from being those top 6 options.
You know something? I'm going to go shot on this. And I think you guys kind of hit one nail on the head just now. I think that Matthews having his injuries now in his prime, Kane didn't have those injuries in his prime. Kane played through his prime and basically put up all of his points. Now he's had some injuries. He's at the hip and he's had some other issues that have slowed him down. But you're almost asking for him to be them to make up the years or the points on Kane in their 30s and towards their later years. I don't think that's going to happen. I think you lose your prime. That's going to be enough to make sure that Patrick Kane is the all-time leader for a while. Because I also have to look up Jack Eichel. Jack Eichel is 638 points in 638 games right now. And
the problem is he's older than Matthews, and he doesn't stay healthy.
Right. So that's another issue as well. And the thing about Matthews is, I can't express this enough. Goals will dry up. Assists, they tend to stick around a little bit longer. So he needs to get more assists. He needs to make more plays, make better passing. I mean, Matthews right now, 410 goals and only 331 assists for a center. So maybe he's going to have to get more assists, I think, in order to get up there. Because if we just say Austin Matthews, I think we're expecting him to be the all-time goal leader by that time. If he's going to break this record, it's just the way the math works out. All right, let's go to another American who's also making some news right now. But Connor Hellebuck out for the next 4 to 6 weeks with knee surgery. Winnipeg is 1-2 so far without him. And you look at some of their games coming up, not going to be easy. But Winnipeg's Connor Hellebuck's knee surgery will sink Winnipeg's season. Filk.
Oh. They have a strong enough group to the point where I think they may be able to survive some of it just because their structure is good. Mark Scheifele's having possibly his best season. Kyle Connor's chugging along. Josh Morrissey looks like a Norris contender again. Gabe Velarde looks pretty good. But after that, there's just a lack of scoring depth. A lot of middle six guys that you can't really count on for offensive production. But my biggest issue with this team, and I've said this for years, for everybody who keeps talking about, oh, Igor is so much better than Connor Hellebuck, and Igor has no help. Connor Hellebuck actually has had historically less help in front of him in Winnipeg than Igor has had in front of him in New York. So, yeah, this is it right here from Brian. Eric Comrie is not a good goaltender. He's an okay backup at best. Not somebody that you want to ride with, but they really don't have a choice. Anytime your starting goaltender goes down, you're pretty much screwed in that regard. Unless you have a goaltending prospect like a Spencer Knight, maybe like a Yaroslav Askarov who can come up that's, ready and willing to take the reins at that point. And they don't have that in Winnipeg. For me, I don't know if I trust, outside of Josh Morrissey, anyone on that defense to be able to play top 4 minutes consistently without the type of goaltender that Connor Hellebuck is in the regular season behind him. Like Dylan DeMello. 9 points in 21 games from a guy who doesn't really know what offense is at this level. Sorry, nice little player, bottom pairing defenseman. Not bad. Logan Stanley is putting up points that at a rate that he doesn't really put up points at. I mean, they're getting points out of those two. Neil Pionk has been a major disappointment for them this year for a guy that's been like a 40 to 50 point defenseman in the past. 5 points in 21 games with even rating, playing 22 minutes, almost 23 minutes a game. I really do think that they have the horses as a system. Like the sum of their parts is really the issue here. You can get something out of them, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure, depending on how long he's out for, I'm not sure if you can count on that defense. Like that offense is really going to have to step up and keep the puck out of their own zone.
Yes. Oh, so what'd you say on that one? Did you say?
I'm going to say beer. I don't think that it's a guarantee that they'll sink it, but there is a chance. And in that Western Conference where it's a lot tougher, and then it's not a wide open East because everybody is in one gigantic clusterfuck in the East. Mm-hmm. So the West has teams that will pull away. And I mean, right now, Winnipeg is 3 points out of a playoff spot, even though they have 2 games in hand on the Mammoth and the Sharks. They have 4 games in hand on Edmonton and are 1 point behind them. But you got to remember, like, the Mammoth have started to get hot again. Like, they've won 2 in a row after they had an abysmal streak. Vegas now looks like they're on their way to back up to the top. And what if Edmonton starts to figure it out?
Right now, as far as Edmonton goes, ifs and nuts or candies and butts.
Sure,
but Anthony, will this knee injury be a problem that'll sink the Winnipeg season? Anthony, you're muted.
I'm gonna say shot only because the only team that ahead of them in the Wild hold the 3rd place in the Central. The Jets are 4th. The Jets are 4 points behind them. I still think the Jets are the better team. I think they'll catch Minnesota. The only caveat could be if Jesper Wallstedt keeps playing the way he is, then that might be a little more difficult. But if he kind of comes a little bit down to earth or whatnot, I think the Jets are still capable of catching the Wild, therefore guaranteeing themselves a top 3 spot in the Central. So I'm going to say shot. I think the Jets are good enough to overcome this.
I am going to say beer because you can't just take the MVP out and just expect everything's going to be hunky-dory. He's definitely the backbone of this team, but this is also why you get guys like Jonathan Taves to help provide this leadership, try to get him through the hard times. It is going to be a difficult stretch. This one, actually, it's going to be a difficult stretch to play without him. However, they're kind of in the soft part of their schedule right now. I'm going to pull a Filk. I'm just going to rattle off all these right now. You get Washington tonight, Carolina. Then you go Nashville, Buffalo twice. You get Buffalo, and you go Buffalo, the Canadians, back to Buffalo, and Edmonton. Who knows if Edmonton's going to have figured out by next week. You do get Dallas. They host Boston, and they host the Capitals, and they host Ottawa. But then they also get St. Louis. You're going to get Colorado one more time in the Mammoth. So by Christmas, we should get a clearer picture on this. But I think they could tread water, and probably I would say maybe on more of the 4-week timetable. But we'll see about that. And when he starts his road to recovery. And the last one for Bar Talk right now, guys. The Vancouver Canucks have signaled to all 31 teams that they're open to moving their veteran players. There's a lot of AAV and no movement clauses that are all in there. So we're going to get to that in a second. But Anthony, can the Vancouver Canucks can tear it all down?
I mean, I'm bordering on shot here because, yeah, I mean, they can move like the pending UFAs like Vander Kane, Teddy Bluger, but the nuts and bolts of it, they just re-signed Brock Besser, full no movement clause. Tyler Myers, no movement clause. Philip Hronek, no movement clause. Even Marcus Pettersson, no movement clause. Elias Pettersson, you get it, no movement clause. So a lot of these guys that I think teams would have interest in have trade protections in form of that no movement clause. Even Connor Garland has a no movement clause. So like I don't know. I mean, yeah, some of these guys maybe they want to leave because if they sense that Quinn Hughes is going to leave, then maybe they'll waive him because they don't want to be around the rebuild. But I mean, for right now, I think it might be hard for them to really strip it all down with the amount of no movement clauses they have on this roster. So I'm gonna go. Honest, I think I'm gonna go shot here. To be honest with you, I just think they're gonna have a hard time moving these guys, and especially in the case of Besser, you literally just re-signed him. He's not going anywhere at this point. So Yeah, I mean, they could trade guys like Bluger, Evander Kane, all they want, but I don't know how much they can really tear it down. Unless Quinn Hughes decides, okay, I'm out, then maybe some of these guys will say, okay, I'm waving too. But I think they might have a difficult time.
Phil, do you think they can actually tear it all down in Vancouver?
I think they're going to have to. I'm going to actually buy around here. And I know Anthony talked about trade protection and everything like that, and that's fine. But I do think that there is an element to players being willing to move when they start to see guys that are out. And I think once Quinn Hughes is gone, I think that you're going to see a lot of these guys be more amenable to moving, because players don't want to play in losing environments. They just don't. It's negative energy. It's like working at a job that you're not appreciated at, where you're walking on eggshells, and every day you go into it thinking you could be fired. Like, it's just not good for your mental health. And that's why I've said for years that, like, I think once the Ranger team starts to really tear things down and guys start to want out, you're going to see guys that are going to be more amenable to moving, like Zibanejad, maybe even Shesterkin at that point. I know he signed that extension last year, but I don't want to get too much into the Rangers. But in Vancouver, I do think that once Quinn Hughes is gone, you're going to see a lot more of these guys just start to be like, okay, you know what? Maybe I will get out. Brock Besser, I know he just signed, but I don't think cap wages is not saying that he has any type of trade protection. So he could be moved. Elias Pettersson, I know, is another story. He's got that no movement clause. I get it, but he's gone through a lot of shit in Vancouver. And if anyone, and I know that JT Miller is gone, but the media is still breathing down his neck because he's not producing anywhere near $11.6 million. Jake DeBrusk could be a nice piece for a team that needs middle six scoring. I know he's got a no movement clause, but that ends after next season. And then it's a 15-team no trade. Whether or not this question is pertaining to right now, because that's not specified, Connor Garland could go. Evander Kane could go. Is anybody going to take Filipino? Because I feel like he's one hit away from retirement. Kiefer Sherwood is going to be a very, very desirable piece on this year's trade market.
Phil, just to let you know, according to other sources, Brock Besser has a full no move clause for the first 4 years of his deal. So I don't
know. Like, all right, so cap wages is saying no, but
yeah,
I think
they must have it wrong.
I think Puckpedia says yes.
Yeah, Puckpedia says yes, and so does the fourth period.
So that's kind of weird. But I do think that they're going to move guys out, and I do think at that point, I mean, there's going to be a lot more players that'll be amenable. Like, maybe you don't see Elias Pettersson move during the season, but would it shock me if he's moved in the offseason, especially if Quinn Hughes is moved? Like, if they decide to pull the trigger on Hughes and Hughes tells them, "Oh, I'm going to hit free agency. It's best to move me." This I can absolutely see, and then he turns into a 30-goal winger in Florida. Great, fuck everybody, right?
Well, I'm gonna have to go beer on this, and it's because it's gonna be tight. You got a lot of personalities, a lot of no movement clauses, and also when you hear me say it before, there are no movement clauses, and then there's guys that have two of them. Like, take for instance Elias Pettersson. Yeah, he's got a full no move, so he's got an 11.6 price tag. Nobody wants to touch that. Ain't nobody touching that. Brock Besser, as we just covered, he does have a no move. Jake DeBrusk, no move. Evander Kane, modified, no trade. So that we'll see about that. He'll probably want to move it all. But look, never mind looking at their defense. Roenick, Marcus Pettersson, Myers, geez, everybody in this organization has a no move. Look, I don't know if they're going to be able to tear it down fully to the studs, but yeah, it's going to be all contingent on Quinn Hughes when he wants to go to the New Jersey Devils, if that's even a smart move for him or wherever he wants to go. This is a decision Vancouver's got to make now, and sad to say because they have to do this. They given up the most goals in the NHL. I think that's still applies right now for them, but they've given up now 86 goals. I'm sorry, because Edmonton's went past them, which Edmonton did play 2 more games, but wow. Edmonton's let up 93 goals in 25 games this year, guys. That is ridiculous. And it's just looking at Vancouver, Jim Rutherford is another guy. I might be able to trust Jim Rutherford to build the team, not to rebuild it. So I don't think this is a good situation for Vancouver. Maybe also if you get a lot of these personalities out, maybe that brings the best out of Pettersson. Maybe he's just a good player on a bad team. And sometimes you get teams like this, guys, that they're not a good team. So other guys get to get their shot. And then you get to see guys with career years like Ryan Donato had last year in Chicago. And then you have to figure out whether or not they're a good player on a bad team or they're potentially now finally getting their shot. So we'll see about that one. That's it for Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk, guys. Thanks everybody for joining us on that, where we gauge our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice of drink. Anthony, how you doing on time?
I'm okay.
Okay.
For a little bit longer.
All right, good. Let's do some pick 'ems.
I've got a gut feeling. You want me to do 2 things?
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Now shoot!
All right, guys, welcome back to Big Apple Hockey's Pick 'ems, where we're just going to give you a couple choices. You're going to have to pick it. There ain't no beer in this one. So, well, there's beer if you're drinking, actually, or as you're watching it. So let's start with this one. I never filled in the blank on this, guys, but right now the team that's leading the Atlantic Division is the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Atlantic Division divisional winner is the Lightning or blank. Phil started off.
I don't trust Detroit. And I think they're a decent team. I don't think they're a division winner. They're not there yet. They still have problems in goal. I like the core of young players that they have. Lucas Raymond is having a great year. I don't know. Someone's been beating that drum for a while. Mm-hmm. But, he's having a great year. Marco Kasper looks like he will be eventually a really, really good player. There are a bunch of guys on this team that give you hope for the future in Detroit. Does Dylan Larkin stay? I would imagine he does. Alex DeBrincat is having his best year. He's over a point per game. I wonder if he has his very first point per game season. Moritz Seider looks like he's back offensively. The defense is there. Patrick Kane's missed time, but he's almost a point per game. Emmett Finney has cooled off big time after October, where he had a real hot October where people were looking at him as a Calder runner-up or a Calder finalist, I should say. But, I mean, Ottawa, when healthy, they could be a team. But I just think Tampa Bay has the horses to get through all of this. So I'm going to take Tampa. Like, when you have a Nikita Kucherov and a Braden Point and an Anthony Cirelli and a Victor Hedman, you can withstand some losses. You really can. Kucherov is back to where not fully back. Like I think he'll have yet another 100-point season, but is he going to finish with 130 or so points? Maybe not. Braden Point has not played his best hockey yet. He's going to start playing better. Victor Hedman's missed time, but he'll get back, I think. But they do have the horses to withstand some losses, but they've got to get guys healthy. And I do think they eventually will, and that's why they'll win the division, because Florida's going to be without a lot of guys. Oh, Getzel too. Yeah, let's just forget about Jake Getzel, right? Let's forget about the guy that the Rangers could have had. But yeah, they have the horses. They'll eventually they'll get healthy, and they'll be there just because they have the firepower to do it.
Anthony, Tampa or someone else?
It's Tampa Bay. I don't believe in Detroit. I mean, I like Ottawa. They're getting better, but I don't think they're ready at the point in their development where they're going to win the division. Toronto, I think, is too far. I don't see it happening for Toronto. And I mean, Montreal, Boston, they're up and down. They're good. They're bad. I don't see it them either. So for me, it's Tampa.
I'm going to answer it quickly as well because Phil covered most of the information there. But we didn't mention one name, John Cooper. I trust John Cooper and his coaching over any of these coaches that are available right now. And Florida's not going to get close enough to even talk about it. And Toronto is so far out of it, they don't need to worry about being in this conversation. So John Cooper is going to be steady, get him to win the division. I actually was starting to question Tampa, but you're going to see a lot less games like the one they had against the Rangers, where I believe Vasilevsky went in the first 3 shots. That's not really going to happen. But one GM that's asking right now for his team or his roster to give a little bit more, because he doesn't think firing the coach is the answer, is Barry Trotz. And Anthony, who's to blame for Nashville's record? The players, the coach, or the GM?
You.
Damn it, Williams.
I'm gonna, as good as a coach he was, Barry Trotz, I'm gonna say him, GM. I just think some of the decisions he's made, the roster construction, that falls on him. Free agency that year is a big splash. Got Stamkos, Marchessault. I think that while they're both coming off really good years, if you looked at their age and their trajectory, I would have told you that those commitments to them probably wasn't really wise, especially when your better players like Roman Josi were getting older in age. He made the decision to trade Askarov, who was one of the best goaltending prospects. And now he's really coming into his own in San Jose right now. So, the Brady Shea contract. There's just a lot of decisions he's made that I feel like is coming around and biting them in the behind. And then the last part about it is too, it's they're younger players. Their prospect pool is nothing really to get excited about. Matthew Wood is there. He's got some promise. And then the Brady Martin pick, I think he'll be a good player, but for now, they're just not good, and I think it falls on
Phil.
I just want to say, to start this off, that I never thought that I would see Barry Trotz compared to Dr. Robotnik, the Sonic the Hedgehog. That was just not on my bingo card for 2025, but it's actually kind of funny. It's Barry Trotz. It is Barry Trotz. I said for years that Brady Shea wasn't that good, and I took a victory lap when they got a first rounder for him when they traded him to Carolina. I thought that was a bad move. I liked Stamkos and Marchessault, more so Marchessault. Stamkos I had questions about, especially at that salary. I didn't like that. I liked getting the offense because they needed offense. I didn't think that Stamkos would be 40-goal, 80-point Stamkos or more in Nashville, but I figured he could give you 60, 70 points and be a part of their top 6. and work with Philip Forsberg, but this is all on Trotz. Like you could blame the players, but Trotz put together an awful roster. He has made bad decision after bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. I mean, I love the nicknames for Chris Drury, whether it's Pizzeria Adams, Big City Kevin Adams, whatever else you want to call Chris Drury, but Barry Trotz has literally been worse than Chris Drury. And for all those people that say, oh, well, the devil you know as opposed to the devil you don't know, well, the devil you do know is also in Nashville. It's not just in New York. It's also in Nashville because he has just not done a good job. Great coach. He is a first ballot Hall of Fame coach. First ballot. Like, without question, he's probably one of the 10 greatest coaches of all time. Maybe 15 if you want to stretch it out. But it's not working there. It's not. He's not good. This is like bringing in Wayne Gretzky and expecting him to be a Jack Adams winner because he was the greatest player of all time. Some guys just aren't fit in certain roles, and this is it right here. So for me, I liked him as a coach, but it's time to end that experiment and bring in somebody who knows what they're doing there.
I think you got everything you can out of the players. I could even argue that the players are playing to the best of their abilities. And I think Trotz tried to do right and bring in the right players. Because 2 years ago, this team looked like they were challenging Vancouver to go on to the second round, maybe even face Edmonton. But they ended up losing that series. Phil, I would probably have to say it's Andrew Brunette first because I think Andrew Brunette's proved he's not that great of a coach. He's an assistant coach. Good for him. Some guys could be the assistant. Some guys could be the head coach. It's sort of like eighth inning closers, eighth inning guys versus the closer. Some guys can do it. Some guys can't. And he wishes he was Braden Looper or David Robertson. Like to use that example.
Jeez.
Yeah. I mean, look, all credit to Andrew Brunette, who had a great season taking over for Joel Quenneville in Florida. And then he had a good season first with Nashville. That's, by the way, happy Thanksgiving, Johnny.
Happy Thanksgiving to you too, Johnny.
We'll be saying more happy Thanksgiving for everybody in a little bit. But this is not, I don't want to put it all on Barry Trotz just yet. I think Barry Trotz made those signings and went, oh my goodness, we made a huge mistake.
Hold on. Before you go any further, how can you not pin it solely on Trotz when he was the one that put all Forsberg and some others aside that were already there? How can you not pin it on Trotz?
You know what? Yeah. Okay. I think I just didn't.
No. I don't want you to change your mind. I want to hear why.
No, I think it's that on. That's one of those on paper this should work, and it didn't. And and you could say that because when you put it into practice and you pin that on the coach, then if you're saying on paper it should work, and then it goes to the coach, but then it circles back to the GM and says, you know what? You should have realized this ahead of time. Sort of the way, honestly, there's a little bit of a buyer's remorse when it comes to, say, like Mika Zibanejad's contract. The signs were there that says this isn't that great of a guy on 5-on-5. And then we beat that drum for a few years on that. So it's one of those things in the moment, you might be like, oh, there's a great idea. And then you go, the signs were there. The signs were there. You just chose to ignore it. And I think that's the case when it comes to Barry Trotz in this moment of he added 3 guys to a team that didn't lose anything, but then he made them slower, and they're not able to compete with anybody in the Central right now. And now you got an aging roster. That's another one you're gonna have to tear it down. And I mean, who knows what could happen by the time it was Brady Martin who they drafted, right?
What's that? Yeah, Brady Martin. They drafted in the first round.
Yeah. Who knows what they could be by the time Brady Martin gets there, but it's and I think it's just it's my tendency to go. I don't want to kill Barry Trotz because I like him too much, but I don't think I think he's a good coach. He's not a great GM. But you know what might save it, Phil? We know one thing: Barry Trotz is a great GM, and I'm pretty sure there hasn't been a coach GM since Glenn Sather with the Rangers. Sorry,
you just said he was a great GM.
Who?
You said he was a great GM.
Sorry, I meant to say he's a great coach.
Coach. Oh,
yeah. You might need to relieve the coach and go down there yourself. So
yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say when I was trying to signal before. Like, let me be clear: Andrew Burnett deserves a ton of blame here.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe you could put some blame on the players when they had that crazy win streak and Burnett was there. And yeah, like obviously a lot of the same guys are there and they're not producing. And then they improved some of them, and then there's just not the results. Like you had Gustav Nyquist on that roster and he was playing the best hockey of his career. And then you bring in Jonathan Marchessault, who's really kind of an upgrade over Nyquist.
Yeah.
Nyquist has never been the player that Marchessault was. And he's not really – again, I think the coach is probably number 2 on this list. And I do think that there could be a new coach bump if you were to get rid of him. But I do think that this team is so fundamentally flawed that you may not get that. And losing Ryan McDonough hurt them. Like, I don't care what anybody says. Losing Ryan McDonough really hurt them because he was a great defensive defenseman for them. And you kind of replace that with Brady Shea, who isn't good at all in his own zone. I'm sorry. I've been saying this for years. Maybe that works in Carolina because they play a high-pressure system where the defensemen pinch in a lot and they keep the puck in the opposition zone for the majority of the game. So you can kind of mask mistakes. Hi, Keandre Miller. They're going to do the same thing with you. They're going to do the same thing with you. And then they realize when they get to play better teams in the playoffs and the puck is in their zone more often, they're going to realize that Keandre Miller is not good in his own zone. He just isn't. So, yeah, Brady Shea as a replacement for Ryan McDonough is one big, gigantic no for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's on the GM. Ultimately, it falls on the GM for me. But Andrew Burnett, you gotta get rid of him and then see what works from there. But here's the question: does the GM step in and be the coach if they can't find anybody right off the bat?
I think your best candidate is your GM. I know he doesn't want to coach, but you just do it for the rest of the year. Look. The best GM, whether you want to say it or not, the best GM over the last 40 years did it multiple times where he went from the perch to the bench and evaluated his team. And Lou Lamoriello has done it where they fired Claude Julien. That was a whole thing that happened with Jim Dowd had a great story that he told for us about that. But then also he did it again and did co-head coaches with Adam Oates and Scott Stevens. And he was stood on the bench with them for a little bit, trying to figure out what's wrong. Barry Trotz could do this. I honestly think Barry Trotz could go down there, coach him up, and coach him out of last place. But is there another assistant that can do it better? Look, you might want to say, it's a great story. Andrew Burnett scored the first goal in Predators history, but he's not the only coach they've ever had, and he certainly won't be their last. All right, Phil, is this a pick one of these guys for Team Canada, or is it pick multiple guys for Team Canada?
It's pick one of them.
All right. So in that case, Team Canada, you look at them and you look at their wingers. So for Team Canada, Pick one of these guys to go on the wing for them. Tom Wilson, Macklin Celebrini, Connor Bedard, Brendan Hagel, or Bo Horvat.
I can see them adding Wilson just because I think that they might think that the U.S. is going to really come at them with the physical play. Like, I just remember that first U.S.-Canada game and how Charlie McAvoy absolutely walloped Connor McDavid. And then Connor McDavid did not drive to the middle of the ice for the rest of the game. Changed everything about that game. McDavid played scared. I'll just, as someone who loves McDavid, he flat out played scared. There's no way around it. So I wonder if Tom Wilson could be on there because of the fact that he can provide some scoring in the actually, Matt, we're going to talk about that later. I'll star that. We'll get to that later.
Yeah, we're going to get to a couple of different to start later.
Tom Wilson could be on there because he could provide offense and a physical role. And hearing the comments about, from Billy Guerin about being able to check, like, that's going to be something that I think Canada is going to look at as well. It's not all of those guys. It's pick one of them aside from, like, it's one of these guys. Like, pick one of these guys. I'm probably going to go with Celebrini, though, because I just think he's too talented of a player. And I think he can fit into a checking role. Like, if he's your third line winger or center, you're doing pretty good. And I looked at, I watched Craig Button and Mike Johnson did a TSN Team Canada panel a couple of weeks ago. And they talked about having a third line with Celebrini, I think Braden Point and someone else on it. I can't remember exactly what the line was, but Celebrini was the third line left winger. And I looked at that line. I was like, wow. I was like, you can get that type of speed, scoring, and defensive play. Oh, that's right. It was Celebrini, Marner, and Braden Point on their third line. Like, that's your third line. Like, that third line could be a first line on almost any other country in that tournament, and that would be their third line. That's an embarrassment of riches. I'm going Celebrini there. I think Bedard is best served in a top six role, and I think that top six might be jammed-packed as it is. But Macklin Celebrini as a third-line winger or something like that in a two-way role just sounds so good to me if I'm Team Canada.
If I had to handicap this, I would say, or rank these guys, I would actually go Celebrini is my choice out of these. After that, the guy that I look at is Horvat. And the reason why, not because he's scoring, not because he's hot, not because he's the Islanders, and obviously that's close for us. But I look at Horvat because I think Horvat isn't going to get too big for his britches. He's just going to go in there and do whatever they say and do the yeoman's work, if you will. Now, after him, Hagel, because that is, big icy needs the speed. That is correct. I think that's the reason why eventually Wilson might not be – Wilson might be the bottom of the list of these guys because Hagel's going to be the guy because John Cooper is going to want to bring probably Anthony Cirelli and maybe –
I don't think Cirelli is going to make it.
Yeah.
I listen, I would love to have Cirelli in New York, like, without a shadow of a doubt. But I don't think he's going to make it. I think Hagel's more realistic because he's put up the points over the last few years.
You don't think you would take him as a fourth line center?
So, all right. So look at the center depth here. You have McDavid.
Mm-hmm.
You have McKinnon.
Mm-hmm.
You have Crosby.
Right. I think McKinnon's going to be a wing for Crosby.
Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe it's the other way around. I don't know. Listen, I'm not saying I would think that Crosby would be the center just because he's better defensively than McKinnon. But I do think that there's a ton of centers. That's why I don't think Bo Horvat's going to make it. And I know Horvat can play wing. He has in the past. But I don't think Cirelli is as good as the other guys. And that's not a knock on Cirelli. That's just how good Canada is up front.
That's a good point, Phil. Good point. So, yeah, I'm going to go Celebrini would be my choice out of these guys too. But let's talk about somebody that won't make it right now. Because for the U.S. team, who's going to be left off? JT Miller or Vincent Trocheck?
Can we add an option for both?
We could.
I'm sorry. You know what? I think neither of these guys are going to make it at this point. And if I have to pick one, just because Miller in the past has put up better offensive numbers, I think they might take the chance with Miller. But I don't think that I think that he might not make it just because they're looking at this season and saying, hey, like, what are you doing here? Are you hurt? Are you checked out? Which is it? Because I think Trocheck fits like a fourth line role or a reserve player type thing. Miller would be like a third liner realistically. But by the way, Evan's still around. He just doesn't. He's just taking a break from doing his shows, but he's still in the chats. You'll see him. You'll see that Rangers Central at in there. Yeah, I think both of these guys might miss it. I don't know. All right, listen, I don't know how you can look at what happened in that gold medal game and continue to leave off Tage Thompson, Clayton Keller, and Jason Robertson, especially for guys like Brock Nelson and Chris Kreider. No offense to either of those guys who are fine players in their own rights. They're just not better than the other three players that I mentioned before them. They're simply not. There's no way around it. So I don't know how you can leave those three off after what happened at the Four Nations. And honestly, if it came down to one of those three and Miller or Trocheck, I'm taking those three over Miller and Trocheck any day of the week. And you'd have to be high out of your mind. You would have to be on all sorts of peyote or ayahuasca or whatever the fuck drug out there it is that you could take to not take those guys over Trocheck or Miller. Sorry.
Vinny Trocheck could perform in the bottom six role. That's why Vinny Trocheck is going to get in. JT Miller, regardless of his play right now with the Rangers, I actually think his play right now is probably what's not going to save him, because you're talking about a coach who gets to see him every single game. And he is not playing like the JT Miller that was wearing a Rangers uniform last year. That is for sure. Vinny Trocheck is still playing more than serviceable and very good. And you could see like Chris Drury in 2010 making the team, where it was a little bit of an eyebrow raiser, where they went for a little bit more experience in that year. But Phil, I gotta look at that's the reason why JT Miller is not going to make it. You got to put on Tage Thompson. You got to put on Jason Robertson. And you got to have guys that are better skaters. And I wouldn't be surprised. There's a couple of names that we haven't even mentioned yet, but we're focusing on those because how do you not take him last year? Now, granted, it's going to be Mike Sullivan again. And it's also Chris Drury is going to be with the I guess GMs that you say for Team USA. So there's going to be a chance that both of these guys, never mind just one of them miss. But if it was up to me, JT Miller is the answer. So, and it's not even slapping JT Miller on this. It's just you got other guys. Go with the other guys. All right, guys, that was the end of Big Apple Hockey's Pick Ems. And we're going to have your questions that we're going to get to probably just in a moment. Phil, how about a quick Puckdoku today?
Sure.
All right. Looks like we're not going to get Jimmy on today, so it'll be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish Jimmy would have been on. I wanted to do an obscurities with Jimmy. I wanted to see how good his knowledge was of these guys.
I like obscurities. I got to make sure I bring I bring some better names. And
yeah, we're gonna have to do we definitely have to do minimum games played too.
Yeah, we'll do minimum games played, but I think also when we do the minimum games played, like I was surprised again. Patrick LeBeau. Not only did you get him, but it was just it's a lot of those guys. You're like, wait, what? All right.
I mean, I don't mind the ones from back in the day. I knew Anthony was going to come at me with something.
Yeah, I do think it should be minimum 100 games. We'll figure that one out. Somebody said name a random NHLer, and I just threw out Ken Jernander yesterday. Okay, so guys, we got Puckdoku for anybody listening. Our top line is the Minnesota Wild, the Winnipeg Jets / Atlanta Thrashers, and born in Canada, and our y-axis, Florida Panthers, San Jose Sharks, and Los Angeles Kings.
All right. So born in Canada for Florida, I would say Quentin Howden.
All right. So wait, where is it? Born in Canada, Quentin Howden?
Yeah, for Florida, born in Canada.
Quentin Howden. All right. Point one.
For San Jose, born in Canada, I think he is. I just want to check this, but Rob Gaudreau. No, he's an American. Never mind. Sorry.
Okay.
Pat Falloon is too popular of an answer because he was
way too popular. Don't go with Pat Falloon. I mean, Sean Donovan's a name that comes to mind. He's still too popular.
Link Gates, maybe.
Link Gates?
Yeah, Link Gates. Yeah.
Link Gates. Here we go. He's a 1%er.
Wow. I can't even believe that. Wow.
We'll go with that one in a minute. Let me throw out one of my favorite names to throw on there. Eric Lacroix.
Okay. That's a good one.
He's a 0.1. All right. So what do we got next?
I think for the Wild and Kings, you could probably use Steve McKenna, former Ranger.
Right. Steve McKenna. 0.8.
Yeah, big 6'8" fighter. The Rangers got in the 01-02 season. Kings and Thrashers
/ Winnipeg.
Yaroslav Modry play for the Thrashers?
I did.
Yeah, he did. Yaroslav Modry.
Yeah, Yaroslav Modry is the answer on that one. What you forget is the team that he came up with, the New Jersey.
Ray Ferraro also fits that too, but I think he's popular.
He's going to be way too much. Yaroslav Modry, I think, this is the first time he's been mentioned in a while. He's 0.6, by the way.
Okay, good. So now you could use also a Thrasher and a San Jose or a Winnipeg Jet.
Yes.
Ooh, Jeff Odgers. But then again, he was the first captain in Thrashers history. I wonder how popular of an answer that would be.
By the way, this is where Sean Donovan would come in.
I would go with Sean Donovan. I think Odgers, just because he was their first captain, might be a more popular answer.
Sean Donovan, 0.8.
Good call, Mark.
Okay.
Wild and San Jose is an interesting one.
JJ Daniel?
Might be more than a 1%. I have a feeling that would be like a 2 or 3%er.
Yeah, he didn't play in San Jose anyway. He's not the guy that I'm thinking of. Bill Holder played there, but he didn't play in Minnesota.
I don't think Bill Holder played in Minnesota, though.
He did not play in
I
Minnesota.
remember him in San Jose, but not in Minnesota.
Minnesota.
No, Bill Holder never played in Minnesota.
No, I'm looking at him right now. He's definitely not. So San Jose Sharks.
Matty Laxonen never played in San Jose, right? I think he was just Minnesota and Boston. No, he was Boston, Colorado, and Minnesota. Okay.
Okay. Devin
Howard never
Saraguchi
played in San Jose, right? No, he never played in San Jose.
Yeah, but Devin Saraguchi played, but they're going to remember him.
Yeah, that's too popular because he was in the Brent Burns trade.
Yeah, he was in the Brent
and he was a
Burns
high draft pick from San Jose too, so that's not going to be one you would want to use.
Yeah.
Did Andy Sutton play in San Jose?
I think
Yeah, he
Andy
did. I
Sutton-
go Andy Sutton.
Andy Sutton
yeah.
is our answer right there, so that's okay. Boom. Andy Sutton, he qualifies under 1%.
Wow, because he's 1.0.
There's 1.0.
Wow. Okay, that's close.
Yeah, but it's a single digit that he's like a 0.999.
I have one for Florida and Winnipeg. Johan Garpenlov. Because I don't think people are going to remember that he was a Thrasher.
1%er.
Wow, are you?
I know. And our last one, Florida and Minnesota.
Florida and Minnesota.
Did Alex Auld play for the Wild?
Jamie McLennan would technically qualify under that, but he might be too popular.
Who?
Jamie McLennan, but he might be too popular.
Yeah, that's a tight one. Actually, you know what? He's only popular now because that he's new.
Because he's still on the air as a personality, and that's
yeah.
I mean, he was a decent backup. He was a good backup for his career, and he was also somebody that he was well traveled and.
Actually, I think Steve McKenna could have gone right here, right?
What?
Oh no, I'm not.
No, McKenna never played for Florida.
Is it McKenzie that did that?
That's Derek McKenzie, but I don't think he played for Minnesota.
Yeah, and
I don't think he played for Minnesota. Derek.
Yeah, I don't think he played for Minnesota either. I'm just spitting out names at the moment. Because I don't think Peter Worrell played for Minnesota.
No, Derek McKenzie. No, Peter Worrell definitely didn't. He played.
He definitely
for Florida,
did not.
Colorado.
So, did we ever do the 4 players left in the NHL that don't wear face shields? We'll get to that one in a second.
I feel like we did at some point. I don't remember when, but I
think
feel
we
like
did at some point. I think somebody did ask us that.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think somebody did ask that question at some point.
I'm trying to factor in through all these guys as quickly as I can. Trying to think of anybody.
We're on Minnesota, Florida, and Minnesota. Andre
last one?
Ziuza never played for Minnesota, right?
I got it, Jason Weimer.
Jason Weimer? Okay.
Which I guess he's I before he.
Yeah.
Okay. 0.6. All right, Phil, here's our 2 missteps. Not copying the score. I did it twice. So it was San Jose and the 1%ers. We had Link Getz and Mackenzie
Mike
Blackman
Ricci was more known and was lower than Link Gates.
So was Rob Blake.
What the?
Ryan Claude. Devin Saraguchi. I guess because everybody used him for the other one.
That's
Doug
probably
Wilson,
why. Yeah, I was.
Tony
I
Rudy.
can't believe Rob Blake was lower than that.
Yeah, I believe Sam Dickinson's already only a 0.7. who scored his first NHL goal.
Yeah, he's brand new, and that's why a lot of people probably don't realize that he's playing in the NHL this year.
Bernie Nichols.
Yeah, he did play there in the very late 90s.
Adam Graves, who was traded from the Rangers there for
Mikhail Samuelson.
All right. There's a lot of them. Even we could have answered Ryan Merkley, who we did the trade deadline when the Rangers acquired him from there. There's a slew.
It's got 17 games under his belt already.
Yeah. And what was the other 1%er? Oh, this one. This was our other 1%er was Johan Garpenlov. But Marty Reisner, Gord Murphy, Anthony Stewart, Darcy Hordichuk, John Sim, Joey Crabb, Steve Shields. There's Derek McKenzie. That's who I was thinking of.
Yeah, I was about to say he was Winnipeg and Florida, not Minnesota.
And Patrick Rissmiller is also in there.
Rangers legend Patrick Rissmiller.
Yep. All right. Filk, name, and now we got the pyramid now. Bottom level is Canadians, 10 playoff goals in their career, 750 games played, a St. Louis Blue, 500 points, and at the top of it all.
Hold on. I think I might know who they're referencing with this.
Who do you think it is?
I think it's Rob Ramage.
All right.
So yeah. Hold on no, he never played. No, he did play for Montreal. He played for all three teams. Mm-hmm. He won the cup with Calgary in '89. Yeah, I think this might be Rob Ramage. 750 games, right? Rob Ramage has played 1,000 over 1044. And 10 plus goals, what, in the playoffs?
Okay.
Is that what that says?
10 plus goals in their playoff career. So Ramage just.
Oh no, Ramage falls just short on that. Oh man, that sucks.
Wait, what do you mean? Ramage. Oh, Ramage has 8.
Yeah.
8 and 42. Wow.
Damn, man.
See, that would have been good. We don't have to figure this out to the end. So
I thought I had that figured out. Oh my god, damn you.
That would have been nice. Phil, name any Montreal Canadian in your lifetime or ever.
Rob Ramage. Well, might as well.
Well,
actually,
yeah.
Yeah, because you can't use him after this.
Now,
oh my God. David Wood actually might be right about that. Craig Conroy.
Craig Conroy played in.
He played for all. He came up with Montreal, went to St. Louis, and then he was with Calgary in Iginla's heyday.
Oh, yeah. I forgot completely that he played for Montreal.
Wow, that's a good call, David.
And he's got 10 playoff goals on the nose.
Yeah, I would, yeah. And, yeah, he's got 10 playoff goals on the nose. He's played 1,009 career playoff games. No, Suter never played. Gary Suter never played for Montreal or St. Louis. He played in Calgary.
So we need somebody that played for Montreal and had 10 playoff goals in their career.
Did Benoit Brunet have 10 playoff goals in his career? Because that's really what I'm looking at right now. No, he didn't.
Okay. Now, I hate to say it like this because it is part of the game. Technically speaking, if you wanted to, you could try to do Maurice Richard right now. But
no.
Or even the Pocket Rocket. You could go with guys that you don't think would be there, but
we're not doing that. I wonder.
And Patrice Brisebois only had 9. That was one of the guys I wanted to go with.
You could probably go with Brian Skrudland or Mike Keane.
Let's go with Brian Skrudland.
Yeah, Skrudland.
Oh, wait, Brian Skrudland played for Did one of those guys play for St. Louis? Keene or Skrudlin? I think it's Skrudlin.
Keene, I actually think played for St. Louis. I think that might have been like one of the last teams he played for.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
Keene did play for St. Louis.
So Skrudlin right here. Although, can we think of another Canadian that could fit this? I tried Dale Weiss.
Hold on. What's the category after this?
750 games played. That's why I wanted
750 games played, Montreal, 10 goals. Skrudlin fits that as well. John LeClaire fits that as well.
Mark Recchi
fits that.
Eric Desjardins.
Eric Desjardins does fit that.
Actually, no. I think he's going to have too many people. Well, it's just played for the Canadiens. How about Dennis Savard?
I think that's going to be too popular.
How about Brian Bellows?
Might also be too popular just because he won the cup with them.
Okay. Kirk Muller.
Too popular because he was their captain.
Yes. Desjardins can't do that.
Desjardins scored the hat trick in game 2. Was it?
Saku Koivu.
Saku Koivu's too popular.
Yes, I know. Marty Ruchinski.
I think he would actually. I'm pretty sure he has 10 playoff goals. Pretty sure he does. No, he does not. Oh my God! Only 9 in 37 games. Jeez.
What happens when you get trigger happy? Andrei Kovalenko?
I'm not sure if he has the playoff goals.
Checking it right now.
No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't. See, this is how hard it is to get playoff goals. Matthew Schneider.
Might be too popular. Again, cup winner.
Right, but I think he's got 11. So that's where I kind of got down to with that one.
Again, Boulis. No.
How about Valerie Bore?
He didn't play enough in the playoffs. I guarantee you he does not have a lot of playoff games.
Do you want to know how many playoff goals he's got?
22 playoff games, 0 goals on Valerie Bore.
0 playoff goals in 22 games. Oh.
Vladimir Malakhov State of Survival, funny enough. 75 playoff games, 8 playoff goals. Cup winner in 2000 with Jersey, though.
Yeah.
He had 1 goal in that postseason run.
I say Matthew Schneider right here. No, you know what? Let's go Brian Skrudlin right here because he's got the 750 career playoff games. I think you could go.
I would keep Skrudlin for the next one.
Okay.
And then Keene for St. Louis.
Okay. So I'm still thinking Matthew Schneider right there, but hold on.
There are other names that I could probably think of that.
I'm trying to remember the guys that gave the Rangers fits in '96. Besides Domfus. That's why I went to Breeze Block. So I remember him scoring in that season. You know what, Filk? How about this one? Darcy Tucker.
Oh man, the only quick thing about him is playoffs. Actually, oh yeah, that's right because he had those runs with Toronto. Yeah, go Darcy Tucker there.
Darcy Tucker's in. We got
Skrudlin.
Brian Skrudlin going in. Mike Keene right here.
Russ Cornell actually would have been a good one too. State of Survival.
Well, we could use Russ Cornell next for 500 points.
No, I don't think he played in St. Louis. Jeff did.
But Jeff Cornell did. And did Jeff play in Montreal?
No, he went from Vancouver to St. Louis to. Oh no, he went from Boston to Edmonton to Washington to St. Louis to Vegas. No, he never did.
Okay, so still looking at 500 plus St. Louis Blues, played for Montreal. Got to be a playoff performer.
Yeah, I don't think because Russ Court. Yeah, Russ never played for St. Louis.
Shane Corson.
Wait, what is this last category?
We're at 500 points, and then it's the Calgary Flames. Shane Corson's got that cleared with.
You know what? Go Shane Corson here.
Yeah, because he's not a Flame.
Yeah, go Shane Corson.
Okay, so Shane Corson, we're probably going to get hit a little bit on this one, I think. Unique to score is 6 now.
Yeah.
So now we got to figure out all this and who's the Calgary Flame.
Craig Conroy.
It's
got to be Craig Conroy.
It's Craig Conroy? Okay.
It's got to be. I don't think there's any other answer.
Okay. Unique to score 58.
Also, there was another answer. Who is it?
Doug Gilmour.
Fuck.
When did Doug Gilmour play in St. Louis?
Doug Gilmour came. All right. So Doug Gilmour went from St. Louis to Calgary, and then he went to Toronto when Calgary traded him in the 91-92 season, I believe.
See, I forgot Scott Gomez played in St. Louis. I can't believe he's the most popular answer when Pierre Turgeon exists. But you have Gilmour, Gila points. Stephane Richer should have been an answer. We should have gotten. We were not getting Red Barrison. Lars Eller fitting in St. Louis, but our under 1%ers, Conroy, Jimmy Roberts. No, not that one. Abe McDonald, Phil Goodette, and Ron Wilson. And
Corson was a decent player for his time. He played the type of game you needed back then.
But
there was some skill, there was some talent, and then there was also, just the grit. There was like a big thing in the 90s and the early 2000s.
So, if you had to pick one game-winning breakaway goal, who would you pick, Mike Modano or Patrick Kane?
Modano is one of my top 10 favorite players of all time, but it's Kane for me.
By the way, key thing is breakaway. So that's what puts Modano right in there with Kane.
I get it. And listen, this is not a slight at Modano, but I can tell you right now, Mike Modano himself would probably pick Kane.
I agree with you. I actually do think it would be.
I don't know. I don't know many people who would take Modano over Kane. And again, Mike Modano, if you ever hear this, I am a huge fanboy, and I would love to have you on our show. But just seeing what Patrick Kane can do, like I think Nicholas Backstrom still probably has nightmares about that shootout and that move that he pulled on him, or not that move, but that set of like 10,000 moves he pulled on him.
But I'd have to go with Patrick Kane.
It's Kane for sure.
All right. So the USA Olympic jerseys, let me get them for you right now.
Yeah, I was about to say if you want to pull those up, but they are beautiful. They're not anything new, but it's a classic look. It looks great. Ooh, Colin Stevenson, 55 minutes ago on Twitter. Benoit Allaire is visiting today. He lives in Hilton Head, South Carolina. Do you know who else lives in Hilton Head, South Carolina, or has a house there?
Who?
Mark Messier.
Please don't start those rumors up, for the love of God.
I'm not trying to start those rumors, but
I know it's
just funny.
Sorry, everybody. I am going to keep saying it until I'm blue in the face. It is not a good idea to bring in Mark Messier as the head of the New York Rangers.
No.
It gets worse. There's your Team USA jerseys, by the way.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the jersey that they've used at the World Juniors in the past. I mean, it looks good. I think it looks slightly different, very, very slightly different from what they've used.
It's kind of reminiscent of the 1980s one a little bit. But
no, that's supposed to be the 60s one.
oh, okay.
Yeah, not
Yeah,
the
there you
80s one. The 80s one is the USA, like rounded, kind of like the Rangers nameplates on the back. Yeah. This is a funny comment here because how much worse can it get than Chris Drury?
No, it could get much worse.
No, yeah, you know what? I listen. I'm not advocating for bringing in Messier, but I don't think he could get much worse than Chris Drury. I'm sorry,
but again, it could get much worse. Look, players have certain. Let's stop focusing on the guys that were successful on the ice, and focus on guys that were successful off the ice.
Well,
like Matthew
here's
Dorsch,
the big thing.
I'm going to keep going back to Matthew Dorsch. He doesn't have a great career. Is Scotty Bowman, Wayne Gretzky, a great GM? And we're starting to see Steve Yzerman might not be that great.
Wayne Gretzky did construct the 2002 Canadian gold medal roster. So
that is a short-term thing, not a long-term thing.
I understand, but you want to point to the point you should have been making. You should have been using Gretzky's coaching career, not as a general manager.
Okay. But again,
that's all I'm saying there.
Again, your most successful GMs are all guys that have either had not much of a career or
yes, I agree. I'm not saying bring in Messier though. I'm not advocating for Messier.
I know.
I am just saying that it cannot get much worse than Chris Drury. And to be fair, and I had this conversation with Filkowski, the DM, today. To be fair to Chris Drury, it is not fair to expect him to be able to rebuild a team and get rid of a core and do it on the fly in less than a calendar year. It's like climbing Everest with your bare hands and feet. It really is. But the decisions have been baffling. Juuso Parssinen, having a boner for this guy for 3 years and not being able to realize that he's not that great of a player, like that is on you as a GM, and it's also on you for not having the scouting staff and the developmental team and the abilities and the eyes to take a look at this player and say, really not that good. Like, why are we lusting for this guy?
By the way, Ray, this is the first time I've seen you. Welcome to the show.
No, he's been in our chats. It's just for some reason now they're doing screen names instead of the little names. But Ray has been in our chats for quite a while.
Okay, good. Well, then again, happy to see you. All right. The other aspect is, and I'll say this a little bit more colorful, but especially if you watch Phil's what if list, the Rangers have already had Mark Messier as a GM. When he was captain, he decided to use his influence to get rid of Sergei Zubov. You got rid of Sergei Zubov. You're done talking.
Okay. I agree with you there. Terrible. I agree with you on that. But I do think times have changed. I do think times have changed. And I think if he could get a mulligan on something that he did, I think that would be his mulligan.
Well, sorry.
Again, not advocating for Messier. The difference between Messier and Drury is that Drury was groomed for years as an assistant general manager, worked his way up through the system to get to this point. Messier has zero experience on that. Zero. And I do like Brian Boyle. I think he needs to show a little more energy.
Yeah, I think he's just very reserved. I think that's just how he is. I think he naturally has more energy. I think he's just reserved when it comes to being on the mic, and I think you're going to see more out of Brian Boyle. So I'm not really all that worried about him. I know one of the State of Survival saying Garth Snow. Yeah, I mean, look,
you know what? For the shit that Garth Snow gets, he put together a lot of that roster that ended up being the most successful recent iteration of the Islanders. A lot of that
until Lou Lamoriello got there and was able to identify what worked and what didn't.
Yes, and it was Barrett Trotz that really came in and helped them get to where they were with their boring low event hockey, but it worked. And again, the pieces that were really there were all Garth Snow pieces. Pollock, Helen, Boychuk, Barzal, Lee, Nelson. Those were all Garth Snow pieces.
Let me be clear about this. When it comes to New York Rangers, I get the guy with the plan and the focus and outside the organization that will make the tough decisions on this team. And I don't want Brendan Shanahan. I don't want I think there was a while ago that that Evan brought up on his channel, Rich Beverly.
I would love to get Rich Beverly out of Dallas
for the New York Rangers if they go get him. And it's one of those things. They need Greer should be on the short list, but the thing is, Greer's got a job, and he's right now. If I'm San Jose, I like the job that he did, and the last thing I'm doing is letting anybody talk to him. I'm holding on to him forever. Just it can't be Chris Drury, and it has to be someone that's going to make.
You know what? A lot of people give Shanahan shit, but their level of success really came under Shanahan's guidance. Like, think about it. He showed up there in 2014, if I'm correct. Hold on. I'm actually just looking at. Yeah, he was hired on April 11th, 2014. So, who was the first round pick in that draft for them? Still playing on their roster right now.
William Nylander.
William Nylander, yes. Who did they draft 2 years later?
That would be Austin Matthews.
Okay. Who did they draft the year before that?
Mitch Marner.
All of these guys were put together under Shanahan. Toronto had been the laughing stock of the league for a while. Everybody was talking about how bad they were. I remember when the Rangers played them in 2015 in the stretch run, and they almost lost them, and you were like, a President's Trophy team almost losing to the Toronto friggin' Maple Leafs. Like, this is bad. These guys are entertaining the draft lottery, and you're losing to that. You're almost losing to that team. That's how bad Toronto was viewed back then. And now they were one of the better teams in the league for 2017 through 2025. They were a consistent contender. They were a team that would fight for the division. And I know the bar's low. You could say that, but at least they had some of the right players in place. I honestly don't think that he would be any worse than Drury. I get why people are scared, but he's got to be better than Drury.
Yeah. And again, I'm going to go back to the fact that I just have no faith in Chris Drury making.
No, because it's not 3 a.m. I'm not unwell, and I will push you around.
And also because he's signed for the next 6 years with a no trade clause.
Yeah, I mean, obvious jokes about Rob Thomas.
Yeah, I was actually looking up his contract situations because
Robert Thomas is going nowhere.
Yeah,
he's a very good player. He's probably the guy they should have taken instead of Filipino in 2017. But yeah,
and obviously, if you did have Rob Thomas and you were able to make a successful franchise, you could see how far you've come. So then
they've just picked the wrong guys in the wrong places so many times throughout the years that there's no way that you can tell me that this team doesn't need a shakeup at GM and in their scouting and drafting and development departments. Like it's like you could say hindsight is 2020, but I will always look back and say, Brennan Hoffman and Wyatt Johnston, you had scouts watching Will Cooley play because you took Will Cooley with a second-round pick in 2020. And who is his center in Windsor? Wyatt Johnston. How did you not take Wyatt Johnston over Brennan Othman.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem.
Bobby Sanguinetti and Claude Giroux. How did you not take Claude Giroux, who is one of the top playmaking talents?
Dylan McElrath,
over Cam Fowler, Vladimir Tarasenko, Jaden Schwartz. Like,
now again, Phil, you kind of hit the nail on the head, but let me also go with this reasoning that when you want to make a big deal about some of these decisions, these draft decisions, you can look over and go, well, what did they have at the time? And that's why maybe Jessamine wasn't the mistake you ever thought it was. But by the way, if you get the chance, you draft the center. It's just that simple. Center controls more of the game. Now, you end up going with McElrath there, where they had a dearth of defensemen that they could choose from at the time on the NHL roster. They had Michael Sauer played some games. You had Delzato, you had Girardi, you had Stahl.
I don't think Sauer played any games in the.
He should have played. Oh wait, maybe I think he played 11 games.
Did he? Oh, he actually.
I think he played 11 games that year, or
he played 3 games in 08-09, and then no, he didn't play any games in 11. In 2009, 2010.
But Sauer was still all right. So Sauer was still in your prospect pool. You still had McDonough.
Yeah, but you didn't know what you had with him yet.
But again, you still had Ryan McDonough in the prospect pool at the time.
All right, so hold on. So the McElrath thing comes down to the fact that there were smokescreen rumors going around that Dallas was going to take him, and the Rangers were like, oh. And then they did the same thing years later with Braden Schneider. Oh, Jersey's going to take Schneider. We can't let Jersey take Schneider. We can't let him develop into the next Scott Stevens. No. The problem is that you're passing on more talented players because you're worried about a team that's behind you in the draft is going to do.
Yeah. And look, there's
always
break. There are times where you have to play defense in those situations. Sometimes got to wonder whether or not their talent evaluators think the same thing.
I don't want to hear about we would have fucked up this player, we would have fucked up that player.
Yeah.
You still take the best player available. And they took another reach on a player who can't skate. Stop taking reaches on players who can't skate.
Right.
Capo Caco. Yes, I know he was a consensus too. Can't skate. His skating was a problem back then. That was the one thing that he needed to work on. Skating. Lafreniere, skating. Othman, skating. Perreault, skating. McElrath, skating.
Mm-hmm. And look, there was a great video by Johnny Lazarus that's on there that basically that the Rangers whipped on the 2 picks. I still think it had to come down to investment in those picks as well as them whiffing. Because I think that takes more than 2 to tango in that situation.
But no, that's just me being hyperbolic.
There were the people
who thought that Schneider was going to be some cornerstone defenseman.
Correct, like JD. JD said he was going to be the next Pietrangelo.
I didn't hear that, but I know that JD celebrated when they got him.
Yes, in behind the scenes, he said actually that's the type of defenseman you win Stanley Cups with.
Yes, that I've seen in the video clip.
So and he did mention that he selected Pietrangelo in his other comments, but so there were 2 separate ones, so we didn't directly compare those 2. But still, yeah, everybody's looking for another diamond in the rough. But again, that's why you got to go with guys that are talent evaluators and not just guys that are watching the game on TV that played 10 years ago. They gotta go. How about this one? If you don't mind me spitballing out here, go to the most successful organizations: Florida, Tampa, Dallas. Pick their next guy in line. Go to Dallas, especially the way they've been churning out prospects. I mean, it's not that hard. I mean, they gave away Logan Stankoven, and they're not even feeling any pain from it right now. So that's where the Rangers should go. All right. We're gonna go about 10 more minutes, guys, or we'll go to 120, and then we're gonna call it a day. Big, you're not gonna get Jim Nill, but get the Jim Nill, the people that are under. After all, Jim Nill was the assistant to Kenny Holland, correct, Bill?
Oh, Jim Nill worked his way up too. It's another one. I mean, you gotta take a look at where these guys are coming from and who they're learning under is the other thing. And Jim Nill he's been all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, he retired from Ottawa, and then he started with Detroit. He served as their AHL GM, Adirondack Red Wings. He went to the Dallas Stars in April of 2013, and then he worked his way up.
But again, I keep going back to, you need to have someone with a plan in place for an identity for a team. And I, for one, have said this over and over again. I kind of alluded to it at the beginning, Phil. You went off. I think you cut out before then. I give all the credit to Mike Sullivan for the job he's doing right now with this team. This team is not that good.
No, they're just not. And that's why I said with him in Pittsburgh for the last few years, I said Sullivan has been getting a lot out of a roster in Pittsburgh that is completely flawed. And you know what? You could turn around and say, "Oh, well, was Sullivan holding them back?" No, it's a new coach bump. Like, let's see where this goes.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the Ben Kindle pick. He was somebody that I was pretty high on when I did my draft reviews. I thought he was going to be a good player. Mm-hmm. And you know what? It turned out that Pittsburgh got a really good player in him. I think he's going to be better than a lot of people think. And if Crosby can stay there for a few more years and continue to produce, then I think Ben Kindle might be somebody that you look at and you're like, wow, like this guy turned into a hell of a player.
Which is going to lead to, because if I'm correct, the Ben Kindle pick is the one that Pittsburgh used from the Rangers.
Yes.
That went from Vancouver. So that's going to be, so the question then now is was trading for JT Miller a mistake? Short answer is yes, by the way.
Yeah. And all right. So like, I advocated for Chris Drury trying to change the makeup of this team.
Yeah. And I was not a fan of this trade whatsoever.
Yeah. And they needed to. But I'll admit, I'm kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth here. Like, yes, the Miller trade was something that they needed to do because they needed somebody to come in and help change the culture of this team. But they also needed to rebuild. And right now, having Ben Kindle on this roster, having that pick, and then also having a bad team and a 2026, 2 picks in the first round of this year's draft, this team would be better off. But JT Miller trade had to happen after you signed Igor to that contract. I will continue to hammer this point home. You cannot rebuild because you gave that goaltender that ridiculous contract. I don't care how many times I've said this. I don't care who doesn't want to hear it anymore. You are in the position that you are because Igor had to get that contract. And that is part of why Chris Drury needs to go. Because on the same day that you decided that you identified that the core wasn't good enough to win with, and you were going to rebuild and remake everything on the fly, you gave the goaltender a contract that you couldn't get out of.
It's
so what message are you sending? Because you're telling everybody that you want to go one way, and then 5 minutes later, you're telling everybody that you're going to go the other.
Phil, it's frustrating even more when you think about it like this. The New York Rangers finished, let's say, 4th and missed and made it to the playoffs, but lost in the first round. They would have fired everybody last year. Then they would have gone to a rebuild mode, maybe. But because they were so close to the Stanley Cup, everybody thought this team was there. And if you remember us, everybody, we got off the train early December, said they're not winning a Stanley Cup. They can't. And they don't have the mental capacity. They don't have the mental wherewithal and toughness. No. And they still don't.
But that's what makes it frustrating. Like, you identified that the team wasn't good enough to win. Why did you need to turn around and give a goaltender an immovable contract at that point?
Exactly. This isn't, and everybody wants to make the comparisons.
Not good enough.
You want to make the comparisons to 1993. Neil Smith shook up whatever he could. In retrospect, Neil Smith didn't deal off Alexei Kovalev, didn't deal off Sergei Zubov. He didn't deal off Sergei Nemchinov. He kept the youth of the team while getting a little bit older and experienced. And what you really didn't realize is that he was building the groundwork for 1994 and for what they were going to do there. And he didn't just start selling off Mike Gartner at that point because, like, why not? But still, it's
93 is apples to oranges, though, because if Leach wouldn't have gotten hurt, they probably would have made the playoffs.
Correct.
Would they have gotten as far as they did the year before? Maybe, because of the fact that Pittsburgh got knocked out by the Islanders, but I don't think anybody was beating Montreal.
Well, did you think Pittsburgh was – sorry, that the – do you think the Rangers were beating the Capitals that year?
I honestly think they could have beaten the Capitals. Yeah. I don't know about Montreal. I just don't think so. I really don't. But the Capitals, I mean, the Islanders beat them, and the Islanders had a nice run. I don't know if that Ranger team could have beaten the Islanders just because I think they had to exercise the demons, and I don't know if they had the right players to do that.
And I do think the Islanders had the right coach to do that. Ron Smith was coach of the Rangers at that moment. Ron Smith wasn't doing garbage with the Rangers.
Yeah, with Nielsen being fired, yes.
Yeah. So let's get that in there. By the way,
if Nielsen's still there and they have the horses to do it. I mean, I will say this. Everybody talks about the Matteau and, the Matteau and Noonan for Amonte trade and how that was paramount to winning the Cup because Matteau scored the 2 double overtime goals in the Eastern Conference Final. The trade that nobody talks about as being the most paramount of all trades is probably the wait for Tikkanen trade because they don't win without Esa Tikkanen. I'm sorry, but they don't.
I forgot the Rangers traded for Kevin Lowe the year before, too.
Kevin Lowe.
I think he came at the it wasn't the deadline. He was middle of the 93 season. But the other
no, I think they got him didn't they get him in 92?
Yeah, I thought it was the 92-93 year.
I thought it was the 91-92 season that
I don't think it was that.
No, you're right. It was the 92-93 year. Why did I?
But Phil, even going from there, you still had the real trade that people don't give enough credit for was the Todd Marchand for Craig McTavish.
Yeah, that's a good one, but I think if they would have had any decent fourth line defensive center that could win faceoffs, they could have won. Like, McTavish was good for them. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to downplay McTavish, but Tikkanen was a guy that was out there, and he even said it. He's like, I want you to go check Bore. Like, you're going to make sure that this guy's not going to score. And Tikkanen was one of the few guys on that team at forward that could skate with Bore.
Yeah.
Anywhere close to him and get under his skin and throw.
Clearly Jay Wells was able to get under his skin.
Yeah, and then he elbowed Jay Wells in Game 4 and got himself thrown out after he scored the goal. Like, you scored a goal in that game. You had the Rangers on the ropes, and then you went and took that dumb elbowing penalty and got ejected. What were you doing?
Now, so again, 93, the Rangers weren't going anywhere. But again, you don't sell off the pieces. And I'm deathly afraid the Rangers are going to try to make some moves to get somewhere. But this is not a good team. Stop. You can't polish a turd. So there you go. So
yeah, I'm with you on that. And that's the thing. I think that jury's probably going to try to make moves.
And also, let's not give too much credit to Mike Keenan. The man was negotiating his way out of town during the Stanley Cup Finals. So let's.
You kind of have to, though. You kind of have to.
You give some credit, but you know what? Honestly, this is where you give more credit to Mark Messier. And when it comes to Mark Messier and his 10 years as a New York Ranger, I can speak out of both sides of my mouth. He is one of the most successful Rangers of all time. MVP, Stanley Cup winner. He's also one of the least successful Rangers to come back. Captain, one good season, and then 6 years, and then the rest of the years out of the playoffs. So,
yeah, and then you talk about his influence on the Zubov and Nedved for Robitaille and Samuelson trade. Of course, I get it. I do agree with you there. But the fact of the matter is that is there another coach that was going to get out of Brian Leach what he got out of Brian Leach in playoffs?
See, that's the key factor. I think that's one thing.
They don't win without that.
One thing that Mike Keenan did that the Rangers have a history of doing. The Rangers have a history of being balanced. What Mike Keenan said was, I'm going to ride these guys until their legs fall off. And that's where you really saw, the aggressive moves. Yeah, I mean,
oh, man, my neck.
Look, they were being aggressive, but they were also being aggressive with guys that they knew that they could plug in and fix and get there. Like, I mean,
Lafreniere should have been traded for Peterka. That should have happened. That was your out right there. That was your out to go get a guy that was in the same draft class that had a similar ceiling or close to it. And you could have gotten a guy that needed a change of scenery that would have came in here and would have been a guy. But nope, they didn't want to do that. Well, maybe actually, but this is the one time where I might give Chris Drury the pass because Kevin Adams has a history of not wanting to deal with the Rangers.
Yeah.
Whether it's him or the Pagulas, it's one of those two. But Kevin Adams and they just, yeah. Fucking Kevin Adams.
I don't know. Well, they got Kevin Adams, the big city Kevin Adams.
Pizzeria Adams, whatever. Whatever you want to call. There's a bunch of different names for Drury. Listen, again, I will give him some slack because he is trying to rebuild a team in a calendar year, and it's really, really tough to do that. But the decisions that he's made leading up to all this have been baffling. They have just been mind-numbingly bad. And if you really wanted to rebuild, then you should have never given Shesterkin that contract.
And by the way, I keep on wanting to highlight this. That Johnny's saying my saving grace is the Yankees and the Giants. The Giants are another team that needs to fire their GM. And while you're at it,
Joe Shane's probably gone at the end of the year.
And while you're at it, so are the New York Yankees.
That one's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean,
he's a yes man to Hal Steinbrenner, and that's and now you've got Hal Steinbrenner trying to cry poor over here. I don't want to hear it. And there are so many shills online that defend Hal Steinbrenner and his spending, and he spends money on a bunch of short-term contracts every year so that his payroll appears to be high, but he doesn't want to give contracts to the big guys. He doesn't want to give contracts to the big guys, and that's the problem. Don't tell me that you want to build a winner and you don't go get the guys that you need to win. All right.
It's Phil. It's just as you broke it down, and it is that simple. And I'm still shaking my head to see what they think about it. Like, when you have a GM that, if you want to be, this is why New York has their issues. You want to be a 500 team, you want to barely make the playoffs, you never want to take that next step, which is funny, Phil, because that's why they fired Bob Watson.
Yeah, Bob Watson, who succeeded Gene Stick Michael.
And won a World Series.
Yep, 1996.
We're coming up to 20 years removed from a World Series for the New York Yankees. And aside from getting Juan Soto, they haven't been back to one since 2009. So, and that was a time where the Yankees were going to get Juan Soto no matter what. So now it's sort of like basically what Quinn Hughes is going to end up doing. Going to go, hey, trade me to Jersey. I want to be with my brothers. Which again, we've debated right now about this.
I don't know where he fits in Jersey. Oh, all right. Not that I don't know where he fits, but what does that do to his brother?
Yeah, that diminishes Luke.
And you just paid $9 million for that guy.
I'd be
not that $9 million in like 3 or 4 years is going to be top defenseman money, but like it's still a big chunk of change to give to a guy that isn't good defensively, that's now not going to play on power play 1 because you're going to have 2 left-handed shots on your first power play unit. Are we ignoring the fact that 97% of teams, actually 99% of teams, do not use 2 defensemen on the power play anymore?
Yeah.
Just about every setup in the league is 4 forwards and 1 defenseman.
I think one team uses 2 defensemen. That's it.
Maybe Colorado.
And LA, they were just using 5 forwards at the number 1 power play, and I think on their second power play was Brant Clark, and he had the game winner Monday night.
Yeah, I don't. There might be people who blame Ferguson back then, but I don't think now anybody really thinks that was all Ferguson. I think everybody now knows Esposito was the driving force behind the Hodge trade.
Oh, the Ken Hodge trade, yeah. Well, of course, because when you go somewhere else, you then want your boy. So,
Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Al Lazard.
Yeah, not for nothing, the Jets should have told him to go stick it last year. They paid way too much in order to get him. So now Jets, great trade deadline. Look, you can hang on to this team that's losing, or you can move on from it. The truth is, this team ain't winning a Stanley Cup. If the goal for this team is winning a Stanley Cup, which it is, then you have to move on. All right, guys. That's going to be it for today for us. We've had a great time doing this, and always can't wait to come on next week. We will have the full crew on. A little bit of a different schedule today and a little bit early, so sorry about that, everyone. Because after all, depriving the world of Jim Behringer is not what we want to do either. But we'll be back next week. A whole lot more to cover for Big Apple Hockey. And who knows? Maybe if Friday's a little slow, maybe I'll come on. I'll do a watch along. I don't know.
I'll tell you right now. One name that I think that the Rangers could be interested in, especially if they're looking to do something on defense. Toronto, Brandon Carlo. He's rumored to be available. He's got this year and next year, I believe, left at $3.85 million. He's a right side defenseman. He could technically play those top 4 minutes. He's played top 4 in Boston and Toronto. He's got size. He can skate for his size. And I feel like that's a fit. But I do agree with Anthony, left side help. I think Mario Ferraro might be somebody that they might be looking at too in San Jose. But I do think that they're going to trade for a defenseman sooner than later. And you know what? Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if Braden Schneider is on the way out at some point. Because I would personally, I would not give him that next contract.
But Phil, that gets me back to everybody wants to romanticize about Gorton and Davidson, and Schneider was one of those big moves that they made. And now Braden Schneider, thank you very much for playing. Have a good day. Like this is who is it? Who is evaluating talent? What are they doing?
Again, that's why I've been saying for years that department needs an entire overhaul.
And it's not analytics. Screw analytics. Just go with what. Just look at the players. All right. Before I start going on a rant, which everybody would love to have, everybody happy Thanksgiving. Phil, what are you doing for your Thanksgiving?
I'll be with family tomorrow. What about you?
I'll be with family and my new family, I should say, and working as well. No, it's always nice to mention that, and it's a special feeling. The best part is I'll be able to have all afternoon seeing my wife, because my work schedule this week is not good, but we might have some more hours together today, tomorrow. Actually, obviously tomorrow, but then Friday and going into the weekend. And also, by the way, Phil, I never mentioned Back to the Front. Were you referring to Disposable Heroes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Josh got it earlier on in the chat before my computer completely shit out. Had to restart for an update. But yeah.
It's nice of that to do that right as you got on. But also I did notice that, and I usually say that's the best song of Master of Puppets, but the truth is it's Master. So it's
hold on a second. Disposable Heroes is the best song on Master of Puppets?
I love Disposable Heroes. I mean, Master of Puppets got a lot of good ones on there.
Oh my god. I don't even think I could put that in the top. That's definitely not in the top. Actually, that might be the worst song on the album.
Master of Puppets?
No, Disposable Heroes. Going Master of Puppets 1, Battery 2, Sanitarium 3.
Sanitarium has got to be up there. That the thing that should not be is an underrated.
The thing that should not be is either 4 or 5. You take your pick between that and either
Orion.
I wouldn't have Orion at last. Maybe Orion at last just because it's an instrumental. But Disposable Heroes is in the bottom 3 on the album. And it's not a bad song by any means. I know Brian somewhere in the chat would say otherwise, but I mean,
here's the thing, Phil. Disposable Heroes, man. You could actually, with Master of Puppets, you could put all the songs in a blender. That's how good that album is.
It's the first album I always refer to when I say no skip. Yeah, I understand that, because Damage Inc. seems like a token thrash filler track to some. I disagree, just because I think it's actually a somewhat well-written song.
Well, the one that falls behind, I think everybody would say on that album, would be Leper Messiah, which is actually still...
Leper Messiah is underrated as hell.
Yeah, it's an underrated song.
Know that's probably the last material from Dave Mustaine that he wrote?
Yes.
I actually watched a shoot interview with Dave Mustaine, and he said that not a shoot interview, that's a wrestling term. That I watched an interview with Mustaine, and he said, that I even wrote licks on that song. I was like, wow, like okay, like I knew Call of Cthulhu was his. If you listen to Call of Cthulhu, or you listen to any of his songs, or any of the Metallica songs where the solos sound a certain way, Dave has a certain way of playing solos. Like, you ever listen to Last Rites Love to Death?
It's been a while, yeah. I've heard it.
The solos in that song sound very similar to the solos in Call of Cthulhu and some of the other Metallica songs that he wrote himself.
By the way, Dave Mustaine, huge Flyers fan, if I recall correctly.
He's
a big hockey fan. I think it's the Flyers.
I think he might be a Kings fan. He's from California.
Oh.
I think you're thinking of David Boreanaz, who played Angel in Buffy and Angel.
Yeah,
David Boreanaz is a big Flyers fan. I know.
All right. Well, all right, Phil, I'm going to cut it there. And because we could go to talk more metal and have more time on this one. Joe Graves, thank you very much, because I think you inspired us to be talking more about this. Guys, thank you very much, everybody. We will have clips of this and more. Talk to you next week.